lot of people that want to buzz me for a lot of the damage I've done.
Yeah?
I just don't want to get in trouble for it again.
You've gotten in trouble in the past. What's happened?
I got in jail a couple times.
But you still do it?
Hell yeah.
You're now tuning into All in the Bag.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a new episode of All in the Bag podcast. I'm your host, Myan. And today's episode, I'm bringing the 650 legend, Lost. What up, dude?
What's going on, man? Definitely not a legend, but thank you.
Yeah, word. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. I hella appreciate it. It's an honor to talk to you. I've obviously looked up to your shit for quite some time. With the podcast, and I kind of feel like it's getting overplayed, but I always want to go chronological. I always want to start at the beginning. So first question I always ask is, how did you get started? So what got you into graffiti?
Damn. Okay. I just answered this for a panel, so I have it kind of fresh in my head.
Oh, there you go. You did that with Martha.
Yeah, with Martha Cooper.
Yeah.
So I grew up. So I was born 6 days before the end of the 70s. And
oh, sick.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, my parents would drive us every weekend. So anyway, let me take a step back. I was born in San Francisco.
Okay.
Grew up down the street from where we're at right now. I'm not going to say exactly where we're at.
Right.
Don't
oust me like that.
Yeah.
Get bipped at my house.
So, and we used to drive into the city. Right now we're south of San Francisco. And we would go into the city every weekend to go to Chinatown.
Okay.
So my parents would bring us down there just to go eat or whatever.
Yeah.
And, my dad would take different roads into the city, which was awesome, right?
So you could try different styles and shit, different views.
Yeah, and then sometimes go on the freeway or whatever. So got a lot of different views. And I would say, ever since I was young, graffiti has been, ubiquitous, right? It's been everywhere. I never knew a time where there wasn't graffiti in San Francisco. And we would see, Twist Faces, Reminisced horses.
Oh, yeah.
MYK and all the KGM guys, TMC, just a bunch of people just killing it along the way. And in Chinatown, there was all these pits.
Oh yeah.
One of them being
the famous pits that happened after the earthquake, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of them being the I Hotel, which was right on the border of at the end of Chinatown. So I would just sneak away, take my dad's camera, and just get photos.
Oh, okay.
And one of those photos, my first photo I looked at actually was Cuba was in there.
Oh,
right. Rest in peace.
Damn, rest in peace. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it was kind of dope. The first ever New York City style based writer in San Francisco was in my first photograph.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah. So anyways, that's how I kind of got into it. Was maybe 12 or 13 at the time. And I didn't really know anybody. So it was just for the first few years, just taking pictures.
Oh, okay. So you're flicking for a minute.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Just
do you still have a lot of those pictures?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of a pack rat. So I have
man, you need to scan those.
I have. Yeah, actually, yeah. There's someone I need to send it to. You just reminded me.
Yeah, I'd love to see some of those, man. That's a book right there if you think about it, dude.
Could be. There's I remember going to Doug's shop in Daly City.
Oh yeah.
And down the street, Cayuga Park, and there was all these sick ass burners there. I think at some point some of the CBS guys came out to paint. Obviously TMF had stuff riding there all the time, and we would be super toys picking up cans from the floor and just
and seeing if there's a little bit of paint left.
Yeah, I mean, it sucked, but we super toys. We would go to Doug's shop, get Phantoms and Fat Caps, and then go to Cayuga and fucking toy shit up.
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah.
We didn't know what we were doing, but
right. But you're having fun.
Yeah.
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 That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So then, just got into graph that way. And then high school, this guy Knock moved in for San Francisco. Rest in peace as well.
Damn.
But he was in a few different crews in SF, ADP, RTM. Yeah. They were running stuff pretty good. RTM, not the same one that King's in.
Okay.
But it was a San Francisco, running the Muni.
Oh, that's fire.
He was dope though. He had like a really good bus hopper style and like kind of taught me the basics of like acquiring paint and caps and
Yo,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. You're getting racking the stone cleaner.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we had it was a Carnuma wax can that
Ooh,
had the
okay.
Bostons.
Yeah, yeah. I for me it was definitely stone cleaner.
Nice.
That was like the main cap that everyone's like, you got to look for the stone cleaner at the back of Home Depot. And I'm like, oh, all right, cool. And then you try it and you're like, holy shit, this is fat as fuck.
Huh.
You know? So yeah, those were like the caps that I paid attention to in high school.
Nice.
Yeah. And to this day, I still, everyone, if I'm going to like the Home Depot near my house and shit, the stone cleaner is literally as you come out of the bathroom.
So you're busting it out right now.
Huh?
You're like giving away the source right now.
Well, I mean, they don't know what Home Depot I'm at.
Yeah. Watch, you'll see. Every Home Depot's gonna not have a.
Yeah, they're gonna
cap
have
on
the
the
stone cleaner by the bathroom. Yeah, but yeah, fucking everyone, they work for sure. They're still sick, But I mean, nowadays you
Right.
could just order like 100 New Yorks, and you're like, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Those are actually going out of circulation soon.
New York Fats.
New York Fats and Legos.
It's funny. I had this conversation with the people in Montana and Spain, and so when I was out there, me and my lady, we went for her birthday, and we were painting like crazy. And I was like, you know what? We should just get hella Legos while we're here. We brought hella New Yorks, but we had no Legos. And then we went into the Montana shop, and I was like, hey, let me get some Legos. And he's like, you're literally buying the last pack we have. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, the dude that makes them, he's like, something's going on with the distribution in his area, and like, this and that. So like I still have the little Montana bucket that says Lego on it, but like, at this point, yeah, we fucking have rocked them all.
So yeah, I know the guy who does those caps, who came out with the Lego. He's actually like an OG
Damn.
like freight painter. But yeah, I'm not gonna bust him.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, that sucks that he's going through all that shit, So
Yeah.
man, Legos have become a favorite of mine. That's my my white highlight and outline.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, there's gonna be others. I mean, but I'm sure he could maybe do a replica or
They're trying right now, looking for a mold. I mean, there's other options out there.
bust out the 3D printed Lego cap.
Yeah, that'd be really hard. You gotta get real precise with that.
No, for sure.
But yeah, now they're looking for a new mold.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get there. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, molds is crazy because do you remember in like the maybe a little later, like early 2010 or whatever, when Viscoso, the ultra wides, the molds and shit, I forget who bought it, but like the ultra wides back in the day.
Oh, like the minis and the ultra wides.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
those markers, they were like super popular like 90s, early 2000s. They kind of disappeared for a while. And then I think it's Viscoso. I could be pronouncing this wrong. I could be butchering the shit out of it. I'm pretty sure I have one somewhere around here. Just got to look at the archive, but the Viscoso marker mold was bought by someone, and then they started bringing them back, and they were selling them at 1 a.m. for like the longest. But 1 a.m. is no longer around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy how shit like that happens. You remember the wizard? This is gonna be a tangent, but I was going through my paint literally yesterday because I was working on a sign for this dude, and I found my wizard wand. You know what I'm talking about?
Wizard one.
Yeah, I almost want to pull it out just so you could fucking. No one can see this obviously because they're listening to the podcast, but it's like I think Renos was actually catching a tag with it on piece by piece, but it's like you pull it out. The cap is attached to like an aluminum wire, and there's a little ball, and it's dipped in like
like a marsh.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like when I grew up in like high school, everyone called it the wizard wand. And then and then it'd be like those were the mops and shit. And so I still have one with marsh ink in it.
Gotcha.
That I've just like saved for all these years for whatever fucking, because I'm a pack rat too. I have a bunch of stupid shit that I'm like, why is this here? But I'm like, I don't want to throw it away.
Hey, they're worth money now.
Maybe, yeah, exactly. It's like rusting outside in the balcony.
Well, not your wand, but I'm saying like pack rat stuff.
Yeah. Once in a blue moon, yeah. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So, shit. What were we talking about? I'm sorry. I have ADHD. So like
wizard wand or something like that.
no. Before that, with your beginning of graffiti, and so we're getting into like you're taking flicks. You have some gems and shit.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you start hanging out at Doug's and you're painting and.
Well, that was So I mean, like. Early on, even like, it's funny because like we're in the area, right? Like I used to hip hop was really big, like
Yeah,
four
yeah.
elements or whatever, right? So
What's your up rock looking like?
I was a b-boy.
Yeah.
Well, back then we were like,
I mean, you're rocking the Kangol right now.
yeah. Well, okay, so that's because I'm getting bald. No, it was like, I was a b-boy first, but we were like breakdancing. It wasn't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we didn't know what we were doing. We were just doing like the power moves. This is gonna get geeky and all this shit.
No,
but,
it's
like,
all good, man.
you
I
know,
mean,
we were just spinning as fast as possible, right? And then as I got older, it's like you understand, oh, it's actually like a dance form. You actually supposed to hit the beat in a certain way, blah blah blah. But back
no,
then,
please, if you want to elaborate on that, by all means, dude, this is your podcast. You can go ahead and create whatever you want. So, I mean,
No.
let me know about the formations of windmills.
nah, it's all good. Anyways, just to say that like Beat Street was like really big. We probably had that on VHS and like watched it like a million times.
Sick.
And I didn't have Style Wars yet until later on.
Okay.
But there's graffiti on it, right? They talked about Phase 2 on there.
Yeah.
And at the time too, the other thing about my parents is after dinner going to Chinatown, my brother and I would like beg our parents to bring us to Tower Records.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they were always down because they wanted to get music, right? That's the only place they can get music.
Sick,
You couldn't
yeah.
download it back then.
Yeah.
And at Tower, there was all the magazines. Right?
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
my brother would go out and look for his albums, but like I'd be stuck in the magazines and, just be digging for graph mags.
And con art, can control, shit like that.
Yeah, Skills, like, Crazy Kings, Hype magazine later on. And then
Yeah.
later, there was like Style Files, but graphitism, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Videograph. Those
yeah.
are the VHSs and
Well,
shit.
yeah, and also in the hip hop shops, my brother's a DJ,
Okay.
and in all the hip hop shops, there used to, every once in a while they would carry like Malicious Mischief or like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Videograph,
Yeah.
Graffiti TV, stuff like that.
Oh,
So
man.
I'd be able to get those videos. But one thing I didn't actually say in the Martha panel, which I wanted to talk about, was like, I feel like there's like an unsung hero in graffiti
Okay.
that like no one's ever really talked about. It's like that buyer from Tower Records.
Oh.
Like
Yeah, because he's obviously the one that's like, I'm going to bring some graph magazines to Tower Records. Like, had to be a writer.
Or
Or at least someone that was really into hip hop, that was like, oh, that's a part of the,
I think they were into a lot of shit. Like it was,
Yeah.
they had like skating magazines, right? Like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of like the early like indie kind of publications, like they would carry all that shit, right? So,
Hmm.
Guy, Girl, whoever the magazine buyer was for Tower Records, like they're
They influenced a whole generation of people.
a whole generation.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about like, Twigs was talking about how, and I think this is 100% true. Like we used to be able to look at a piece and say, oh, that's from like Boston or like,
Regional styles. Yeah,
Regional
yeah,
styles,
yeah.
exactly.
That's awesome.
and I think, obviously that shit's gone now, but magazines, well, it was going to go that way anyways, right? Magazines were slowly bringing that on. Like I think my generation, like people that didn't have a mentor, we were able to get those magazines and just like see work from everywhere.
Right.
So I think you would start to see, again, my generation that didn't have mentors, we would be the ones that were sort of in a way kind of bastardizing those regional styles. Like we were the first ones.
Yeah.
But then when the internet hit, it was like full blown, no one knows where anybody's from anymore.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so, parents would bring us Tower Records, and I have a large collection of magazines still at the
Sick.
house. For me, it was like just a bunch of sketching, right? Like I wasn't really piecing. I didn't really have anybody around to show me like what the process was to piece, besides Knock, but he wasn't a piecer. We were just tagging on stuff, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
learn the ropes through him just on the, like the real like bombing side of things. Like we used to just do hop outs on freeways and like hit billboards and stuff. And
Yeah, you're doing bus flow and
buses,
billboards?
bunch of buses. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we used to run through the Judah tunnels, which people call it the DuBose tunnels, but like we
Yeah.
used to go there in the daytime and just like, as high schoolers, it was like,
So jealous.
it was awesome, man.
Yeah, I've I didn't really get into graffiti until like my high school, and obviously I'm a little younger than you, but I remember early on getting into Flickr and seeing a lot of like Funkin' Jazz's pictures, you know, in those tunnels and just being like, whoa, that's sick. And then by the time that I wanted to get into it, it was like motion sensors, you know, the whole 9 yards. It was like, all right, it's a wrap.
Yeah. Yeah, there's other places though, but yeah, that was a real gem in the city for sure.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how long, like maybe a mile or so long of just like pieces on both sides.
Yeah.
People from all over came there to paint. There was just some pretty classic shit in there.
Oh yeah, I bet, you know. Like I said, I've seen all those pictures. And then there's that I believe it's Infamy, I think, with Jace, where he's like talking about, you know, like he sometimes needs to like he needs to get like a buzz going to get really into like bombing and shit, but then he's like actually in those tunnels catching throwies and shit like that. There's like footage of that stuff and you can see some of the stuff in the background. It's like really dope.
This time, I mean, in Malicious Mischief there's
Oh
clips
yeah,
of that, and
the Muni yards and all that. Yeah.
Oh
dude,
yeah,
I
that
remember
too.
seeing that. That was crazy. Like
yeah, the ghost
it's on
yards.
YouTube for anyone that like wants to see Malicious Mischief. It's just like really good. It's a bunch of like TMF dudes, right?
Yeah, shout out to Dean. Yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of cool shit, and I remember seeing Spy in that video. Like his hands were just so dope. Like he hit like a little bus in the ghost yard, and it was just like so perfect.
If I'm not mistaken, there was also the one part with UFO doing the heaven, right? Right on 101.
So funny enough,
Dude, that was sick.
So UFO and Bum did the heaven, and under that was this guy FRK, who was in a crew. I think he might have been the leader of the first graffiti crew that I got in.
Okay.
WS,
What did that stand for?
like Wicked Styles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. Well, we were like in junior high, and I think it was like someone was related to FRK somehow, and we were like the little kids that just started writing it, and we were super toy.
No, but you know, it's funny. It's like sometimes like I love those abbreviations. You know, Wicked Styles. It's like one of the first crews that I wanted to get into, never got into, but like was obsessed with was BAC, Bombing Across Cities.
Nice.
And I was like, damn, that's such a hard ass name.
Yeah. There's some good acronyms out there
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, and then I guess after that, like we were just bombing a lot. I guess kind of dead end ish. I got into college. I was still bombing, and I met some dudes. Ended up kind of linking up with this guy Japan, who was painting freights.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that was like an opportunity for me to start to actually do what I wanted to do in the beginning, which was like
Really
getting
started
into
learning how to piecing. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And it was like a good time, right? Late 90s, early 2000s. Like you can pick your panel.
Yeah. Everyone's doing like little, because I was actually talking about this with Twigs on 2 podcasts ago, because Zeem is the one that, before that. But yeah, he was telling me, we were talking about like 4 foot
Yeah.
4 foot pieces. You'd see 6 people on a train.
Yeah, we would squeeze them, man. It's like the context is different, right? Like
It's a numbers game. You gotta like save paint. Get as many fucking cars as. Yeah, it's a totally different game now.
I mean, there was less benchers. There was less like ways for benchers to connect. Also, like we would trade photo packs.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah,
in the mail, right? Like so.
Hard copies.
Yeah, hard copies. You get lucky if you got benched, right? Like I remember the first time I saw a train of mine in the snow, like in the flick in the snow, I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. Like I've never seen snow, or I think I've seen snow, but like I'm like to have my train out there, like
right.
in
Canada, it's a place that like you've definitely not been to, and you're like, holy shit, this is the environment. Yeah, I remember one of the first trains that I ever did. I remember finally getting flick. I never got day flicks. We hit it at night, and then it was gone in the morning, and I was like, fuck, there goes that. So I have shitty like photo flicks, and then I remember like months later, like someone sent it to me, and I was like, oh shit, where's that? And he's like, oh, it's in Ohio. I'm like, Ohio, I'll never go there,
dude. I mean, there was stuff like there was a time I paid a train, we'll say in like central-ish California, and 3 months later I went to Florida. And I saw it. It was right in front of me. Yeah, I mean, it was and like you start to learn the call numbers and the brands. So I kind of knew it was going east, but to be able to see it right in front of me, like I don't know, it was pretty crazy.
I mean, you painted this car like 3,000 miles away.
Exactly,
that's fucking tight.
Like I followed it, or it followed me, or
yeah, that's pretty sick. So you're meeting up with Japan, and you're getting into freights. You're starting to piecing.
Yeah, and I got lucky. I guess there was because Japan's not from here; he's from SoCal,
right?
And I had a yard.
It's like him and Drama, I think, came up here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and a bunch of other guys from DE.
Tenfold, right? I think
Tenfold's also from SoCal, but not from the same exact city as them.
Okay. I just remember Zeem was telling me that they all kind of moved up here like around the same time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good time. But for me, I guess this was like before we really linked up with Tenfold. And I think Drama wasn't here. I think he didn't move up here yet.
Okay.
It was just Japan, and he was already FGS, so he had connections around the Bay. I had a yard that was like a layup that happened to have a lot of reefers, and we would paint there quite a bit, and then go meet up with, on the others. In the other yard, I'm not going to say too much about it, but
It's all good. I can bleep anything out and cut anything you don't want to say. So,
okay,
yeah.
cool. Well, I would just say Beggar's yard, right? And like we used to go out and paint with Beggar a bunch, and then when Japan moved out, I would just keep painting with Beggar, and then ran into like Erupto and started painting with him a bunch.
Yeah, I know where this yard is.
There's a few. Well, you had to diversify, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
the more lines you paint, the more
directions it'll go. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, for sure.
So, and I'm just stupid toy, just painting with all these guys who are already really fucking good, or
Yeah,
already had their own styles. Like painting with each one, I felt like I kind of picked up a little something, right? Like
yeah,
Beggar had he was always flipping his shit. Same thing as Japan. Erupto is just a monster, just painting crazy fast, really dope, like big, and I'm just like super slow painting this tiny little panel, and like you just gotta like step it up when you're around those guys. So,
oh yeah,
then so Frades were my thing, right? And then had a kid in 06, so knew about him, I guess actually no, yeah, I would say 06. And also kind of lightweight caught a case right before that. So it was just one of those things that just made you take a step back and figure things out.
yeah.
Yeah. And then since then, it's just been kind of still staying steady. But
Yeah.
Not like
I
as
feel like
busy
you're
as I
getting it,
was.
man. I mean, you're also doing some traveling. I saw you're meeting Styles in Belgium. That was fucking sick. You guys are killing it out there.
It was fun.
Yeah, you just got back from Chicago, right?
Yep. Chicago was last weekend.
I mean, you doing all
Good
right?
times. Yeah. I mean, it's old man graph, right? Like trying to.
But you're definitely doing more quality now.
I think that was the switch, right?
Yeah.
Like, when I knew I was gonna have a kid, it was like, it's a hard switch from like I'm doing a lot of like primarily 99.9% illegal shit, right? And then it's like now what, right? Like, well, looking back at it, I was kind of just running the same like maybe 3 different styles, and what really drove me into graph was dope, like diversified style writing, productions. So I mean, it took me a little while to start to like that kind of stuff, like to like what I was doing and that kind of stuff. But I think I transitioned into that throughout those years, right? Maybe a year after I had my first kid, I took on a pretty big wall in the Hate Street by myself, and just was like, I'm just gonna learn. Just fuck it, I'll figure this out. There was like a little bit of photorealism, a little bit of illustration, a lot of typography. I was definitely gonna throw a burner on there. It worked out. I ended up meeting this guy Sater. He like rolled up on me in the wall. I was like, "Hey, you need any help?" And for the first few times, I was like, "No." And then eventually, I was like, "Yeah, dude, just fucking help me out." And and I don't know if you probably know about him. He's like was already way advanced.
Oh yeah, Lord Sater.
Yep, MPC, like just like dope writer, right? He had everything. He had pieces, characters. He can do it all, and just watching him execute what I was planning, it was like, okay, it just was it felt more attainable.
Yeah,
I guess, right?
No, yeah. I can't remember if that's still running, but that Lord Sater from like '99 that he has on that roof right off of like, if that's still running. I haven't looked for it recently, but it was there for fucking. I mean, the last time I remember, maybe a couple of years ago, we were driving by it and being like, "Fuck, dude, that shit's still running."
Yeah, it was silver, right?
Yeah. It just says Lord Sater hella big, and then it has like a star with a 99 in it.
Probably a bit faded by now.
Yeah. But it's just like, man, I can't remember if that's still running. I gotta drive by there again, but yeah. definitely know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, he just can do whatever he wants with paint.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was like one of the first like wizards. I feel like I was like really. I mean, obviously, no, I can't say that because there was a lot of people that were really dope before that. But, you know, as far as like from a production standpoint, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, that, you know.
Was that kind of like your introduction into like really trying to focus on like professional murals?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to call it professional, like,
I mean,
productions.
You've done some like fucking pretty professional stuff, man.
I mean, like,
You're working with the Giants, like, you know, you did that. What was the one True helped you with? It was for Black History Month.
oh, Rosa Parks.
Yeah, there you go.
Elementary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, you know, you're out here. You know, you got to give yourself a little bit of credit.
That's another side of me, I'd say, though, right? Like, I'm trying
Yeah.
to keep that separate from my graph side.
I feel
actually
that.
have like another like alias for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. 'Cause I don't know. I feel like it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like I'm a designer too on the side, right? I don't call myself lost a designer, right? Like, when I do murals that are like permissioned is I have a different name. But,
I feel it. I am curious though, because we were kind of talking about it right before we hopped on the mics and stuff like that. You were telling me you were doing creative director at.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that at all?
Maybe beep out that and then the company name because
Okay.
they can find me probably from that. But
Yeah, word.
no, so let's see, 2000.
What year was that?
So, well, that was not too long ago, but I'd say
Oh, really?
2004. I started just working, right, doing my career, which was design.
Okay.
And this is like before. I feel like the internet wasn't like super big back then. Like we weren't getting paid that much.
04? Yeah. I'm trying to think like 04. I mean, I remember downloading, I think I asked this to Twigs and I forgot to ask this to Zine, but yeah, I remember downloading Papa Roach's Last Resort and it took like 28 hours or some shit like that on like Napster. It was on an old IBM ThinkPad E720,
Nice.
like 1,000 free hours AO. I always talk about this shit because like,
CDs.
it's just like, I mean, I'm the last of that generation of like, you walked around with 75 cents in your pocket to call on the payphone,
Right.
and like you would see where the bikes were in the front yard, and you're like, oh, the kids are hanging out at this house this week,
Yep.
But at the same time, like we slowly started getting like the Nokia 320 or 2125Is, with like Snake, and like I had a pager, from MCI WorldCom, like so like that's kind of like that. My generation is like that introduction into electronics, but still getting really into it. So. 04, I mean, that's like MySpace is kind of rolling out. Like, I remember like Zynga being really not Zynga. Was it? Yeah, I think it is Zynga. Yeah. But they also make video games. Well, they used to, right? It was like the Facebook.
Friendster? Is that before?
Friendster. Jesus, fuck. Yeah, we're going into like the fucking old message boards and shit like that. That's the shit that like, but yeah, I definitely remember that like AOL, like ASL, age, sex, location. You be talking to like random ass people and shit like that. Once in a while you get a fucking, now it's DM direct message, but it was PM personal messages, so you'd get a dick PM'd at you and shit like that.
I never got those, dude, thankfully. Thankfully, I never seen that shit.
That was kind of like that era and shit. So like 04, it was like, yeah, internet was around, but it was like, it was like if your mom had to fucking hop on the phone, like, yo, get off the computer.
I remember Facebook just started around that time. It was like new and like, so
you had to be a college student, right? You had to have a college email in order to get on. Yeah,
it was like Harvard and Yale or some shit like that.
Yeah, this was MySpace was still definitely cracking at the time.
Yes. Yeah. So that's when I started my career, like my day job, which I still do today. In design, and actually got it kind of because I was a writer. There was a typography conference that I helped out at.
Sick.
And the people that were running the type conference, a lot of them actually also worked at a place called Font Shop, which was a font retailer. And we sold digital fonts. Well, essentially, I just got a job there, right? So basically, I was hitting up the organizer. I was like, hey, you guys looking for any interns?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, sure, come through.
Yeah.
Got paid nothing but learned a shitload. I mean, still till today, I can still remember lessons that I learned from, I would say like my type mentor, this guy, Stephen Coles, who actually runs or works at Letterform.
I was about to say, do you know Kel? You gotta know Kel.
Kel from
Trofton. Did I pronounce that right? Hold on. Kel. I'm sorry if I'm fucking up your name.
Mayor's brother. I met Kel
Here, I'll tell you right now in 2 seconds.
from New York.
No, he's from here. Kel Trofton. He works at Letterform. He actually just recently had
dope.
Mischief subscription to Mischief, and they did a whole dude. That was a great show. You didn't go to that?
I had
fucked up on
dude,
that
I
one.
fucked up big time. I had a
a
birthday party to go to.
Word. Yeah, I got fucking Chino BYI and SP1s fucking on some 228s.
Like,
I was bummed out because I've always wanted to get a twist hands on a 228 because that's the one thing that I actually do like to collect. And then I seen him biking out of the show, and I was like, no, Barry. Because you know what? I was in South Korea last year, and he had a show there. And so we were walking around Seoul, me and my lady, and then I seen a twist sticker, and it was like fresh. I mean, it looked like it just got caught. Now it was an eggshell. I couldn't peel it. I'm that toy that peels fucking not you. I'm that toy. No, but yeah, you know what's funny is he had, it's like that standard C line, just like the red squiggle around the white.
Yep.
So it was like a twist, and I had screen printed because I'm a screen printer. I've been doing this shit for like a decade. So I screen printed, like hundreds of eggshells prior to going over with the exact same background. So it was like black. It was my lady writes Tenchi, so like it was Myan Tenchi on the eggshell sea lines, and so for a while, this is probably gonna get back to him, but I was actually side busting him in Korea hella tough. So every time I saw a twist, I'd be like, oh, gotta get one there, gotta get one there, and so I side busted like fucking for sure a solid like 10 twist eggshells in Korea, and then I went to his show and I bought one of his zines from Paris, and it was just it was fucking dope, seeing like a lot of that old school DFW flavor, so it was really cool actually. And so I wanted to talk to him about that, and be like, yo, I was in Korea at the same time that you were for your show, and like, now we're here at this show. It's like I keep missing him, and like I mean
we were meant to meet.
Right. It's well, first it's Twist. Let me be a fanboy.
Right.
But like, another thing too is that like I worked for a coastal city not too far from here.
Okay.
And I did a big wall with the city's name. I got sponsored by like Ace Hardware, and so I also do a little bit of mural work on the end.
All right.
On the other side of like whatever, and so I met a bunch of surfer guys while I was painting that, and they're like, you ever heard of Twist? And I'm like, no. And they're like, yeah, it's my homie Barry, dude. He surfs over here at the fucking beach all the time. I hang out with him all the time. And I'm like, so you're telling me I gotta go pick up a fucking surfboard? This is the only way I'm gonna fucking meet Barry, so it's like there's so many times, and they're like, oh, Barry just left the beach, and I'm like, fuck me, like,
dude, I mean, that guy so ahead of his time. Like, back when I first got into graffiti, I can still remember like those faces that he used to do, the fades and the can control that he had with those. His hand styles were so perfect. Like, and we're talking like American paint days. This guy was like wielding a fat cap and flaring things perfectly back then. Kids these days still can't catch up. I can't, dude.
Yeah, and that was quality. Like high pressured fucking grinding a fandom cap.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna get a Montana 94 and I'm gonna get like the perfect fucking cap to like I'm gonna get a stencil. It was like you got what you got, you found what you found, and he still made it work with whatever he had. And that was fucking gnarly.
Dope styles in the hands, he had good characters, he was political, like he had everything. Yeah, getting up illegally, it was just like
no, for sure. And I mean, like for me, like I got into sign painting, and like I was really inspired by Matoki Slaughter, rest in peace. And I loved seeing her work, and it was just like, just both of them were just a fucking power couple.
Caught a lot of freights of theirs too.
Really?
A lot of little, like not like
little monikers.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's fucking dope.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So you're getting into your design phase and shit. And so how does that kind of transition into like what you're doing, like at the time, like your mindset around graffiti with the design starting to slowly integrate?
That's a good question. I think like what I was trying to see at the time was like, is there a way I can take some of the design approach and put it into productions? And like I think a lot of people when they think about that. Like, oh, I'm gonna make like this really clean typography and blah blah blah. But I was trying to think about it more like, how can you thematically make everything cohesive? So like one of my favorite things I did, still till this day, I think, was this wall that was right next to that wall on Haight Street. I started to look into like different art forms and different periods, and like the trompe l'oeil, like trick the eye stuff, like started to be really interesting for me.
Okay.
And even like now, like there's, for example, like Sub from DF, he's also like this really, really awesome, like fine artist. And he does these amazing trompe l'oeil canvases, where it's like, you're looking at it and it looks like it's just super photorealistic, and also like thematic. It's not just like, oh, it's a face and looks like a face, but it's like thematically, I don't know, just it has something, right? Like it's it like he'll paint the edges of it, right? Like fake the frame with paint, stuff like that.
Oh, sick. That's tight.
So like I kind of took some of those ideas, and one example was like that bug wall, where at the time it was was painting with Seder, still am painting a bunch with Seder.
I was gonna say, you guys recently did kind of like that Western style font. They're kind of like leaning a little bit back, and yeah, that was sick. I like that. It was like you went on the really like fucking chunky edges, but then really skinny on the lines. I was like, oh, okay, sick.
Yeah, Seder was sketching those letters up, and I think actually after doing it, I was like, oh, this is something that Twist was kind of messing with back in the day too. He kind of had like that slab serif where he like would stretch things out.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So at the time, East was coming to town. There was like some graph jam, and I had him come out. I like talked to the organizer to have him come judge, and then Scribe was coming out after that. These guys, ATT, DF dudes, and from anyone that grew up in the magazine era, like maybe late '90s, like who these dudes are.
Yeah.
Early art crimes, you probably printed out Emit sketch and like copied it a million times. I think I know of multiple people besides myself that did that printed out that exact sketch. But yeah, I mean, like these dudes were like legends, right? And they were coming out, and I had this concept in my mind, and I just, with the help of everybody else, like we just made it happen. So like things like that is sort of what, it's kind of the kind of shit that I like to do, right?
Okay.
The productions that trying to find a way to make them all cohesive, not just like, oh, we're just going to buff the background and like,
right.
I mean, I like doing that shit too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's like very classic graffiti, but I totally understand by pushing the envelope and trying to do something that, different with a concept and like, bring those elements that really get the idea across. Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of where like the design aspect of things, excuse me, the design aspect kind of came through in my work. And that's when I started to like have that hunger again, I guess you could say. Right?
Yeah. Like re-sparked.
Yeah, because like before the hunger was like the numbers, right? Okay, I'm gonna hit like these many trains a year, and I want to try to get like these different brands and hit these many reefers, and these many like just standard boxes, maybe some of these auto racks.
God, that's so crazy to me that you're like, I want these brands.
Yeah,
because now I'm like, oh man, I'm grateful for any fucking panel that I can get, But it's like, oh, I got to get the cryo trends, got to get the fucking up fees, got to get the,
Western
the rail box, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it was like the CSXs, right? Like,
yeah.
Those are the ones that were going east. And whenever I seen one of those, it was like, okay, that's gonna go far. Like, that's out here randomly. Maybe got stuck in a pool somewhere, and maybe they humped the train wrong. I don't know what happened, but there's that CSX right there. I'm smashing that.
You're
shit.
Like, I need that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously we don't have that nowadays. It's like,
right.
If there's a toy that I can go over, we'll do it.
You're like, I can burn that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Check that panel.
Yeah. I just bring a big white can, and then I just make sure you can't see them. Because I can't burn anyone nowadays, So I got to do what I got to do.
Bubbles.
Yeah. You got to bring either a white can or like a yellow can for the rail boxes, TTXs, you know what I'm saying? So depending on the background, anyone that's listening, do not do what I did. I'm totally kidding. I swear I'm not that much of a toy.
No, you got some good stuff, man. I've seen your shit.
Right on, man. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Definitely coming from like you and stuff like that. It's like, you know, I kind of get like, I was just thinking about this the other day, but I feel like in a way I kind of get like a little bit of an imposter syndrome.
How so?
Well, because I mean, I'm interviewing Lost, I'm interviewing Zeem, True 54, you know, fucking Swerve, you know, like I'm, you know, talking to these really dope people, you know, knock on wood. Hopefully next month I get to talk to Renos, you know, so it's just like all these like dope ass writers. And then it's like me that, that I'm like, yeah, you know, kind of, I like your stuff.
Nah, dude.
So, you know, it's kind of like, yeah.
You're good. You got a good personality too. So like that, I think that's very valuable. You know, I think
Thanks, man.
that kind
I
of
appreciate
thing would,
that.
you know, draw out the good stories too. I think that's important, man. I like a lot of the podcasts were dope, man. I've listened to Twigs' thing. I was like, man, I'm just going to like cut and paste what he said and just like change it to like SF. Cause like a lot of that shit was like the same kind of thing, right?
No, yeah, Twigs is you know, big shout out to him. You know, we've kept in touch since then. Actually, he came through for me. I'm gonna be in Orlando next month or next week. I was telling you about that, and then you know, he was talking about how he travels, you know, the U.S. so much, and so I was like, I'm going there for like a company meeting, it's just some bullshit, you know, and I was like, well, fuck, I never go to Florida, so I got to try to get it in, you know.
Yep.
And so then I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, you know anyone in Florida? He's like, oh, yep. And then instantly hooked me up with Grab. And then Grab's like, oh, I'm not in Orlando, but talk to this dude. And then I talked to that dude. You know, I just went through the network.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that I'm like really grateful for in Instagram and stuff like that. And so, yeah, talked to Oh Boy. And so it's like now I got like a wall lined up for Orlando next week. And I'm just like, sick, dude. Like,
that's tight.
You know, that would never happen back then. You're like, I'm going to Orlando. I got to like I'm either bombing or like, you know, like how are you going to figure that out?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think
you keep talking. I'm just going to get a sweater.
All good. Yeah. No, I think graph wise, like one of the dope things is that there's always someone to meet up with when you go to different cities. I was just talking to someone about this in Chicago too. Like, you know, wherever we go, there's a house to crash, right? There's a wall to paint. There's a yard to expose, or whatever, you know, to violate. There's you know,
you can get into something, you know,
you get into something, and then those people come out to your city, and then you host them, and
right,
you know, it
yeah,
becomes, you know, like I have a lot of friends that are like that, you know, and it's like it keeps it fun, man.
It is really cool meeting all those people and shit, traveling, getting different perspectives, and I mean, you know, I've been lucky. I've said this on previous podcasts, but I feel like I need a burp. Yeah, go for it. But you know, it's like you meet all these personalities, and like, you know, it's like there's certain shit that you're like, there it is. Fucking sorry, I had to burp. I was like, dude, it's coming out. I just had pupusa, so that's what it tasted like.
Did you have the cortita?
Oh yeah, repollo with the salsa and everything, you know, a little side of frijoles, arroz. Nice. Yeah, that's my shit. I'm Guatemalan, but like I'm obsessed with Salvadorian food.
Yeah, wife's Salvadorian.
Also, all the Mexicans are gonna come after me for this, but Salvadorian horchata is 100 times better than Mexican horchata.
Really?
100%. Like,
I don't think I've ever partaken.
It's so hard to find. Anyone that's Salvadorian knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it's very similar. Mm-hmm. The only change is they put morro, which is like a seed, and it's kind of like, I forget. It's like I don't know. It's like now I have a bubble in my throat. I'm dying today. Yeah, but
it's like crunchy or something, or
you know, it's not like a texture thing. It's like they crush it up and pulverize it and sweeten the horchata with it, so it has this morro taste, and it's actually darker. It's more of a caramel color than it's like the white horchata that you're used to. But every time I have it, I'm like, this is so much better than Mexican horchata. So I mean, you know,
shout out. Give me an address next time.
Yeah, I gotta look that. I'll text you and shit. Yeah. But fucking shout out to all the cerotes out there. Fucking the morro's way better.
Dude, I gotta try that.
The bichos and bichas.
Definitely gotta try that. Man.
Yeah, the morro's good. That's my shit. Yeah, I really didn't even really get into it until I moved to LA, because you know that's the thing. The Mission is like 99% Mexican, so it's like now actually there's more Central American. Like I was telling Twigs about this. Fucking Eterna Primavera on 24th in Alabama. It's a little Guatemalan bakery. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it there. I go there all the time for breakfast. It's my shit. So yeah, you might catch me fucking slipping there. I mean, you got to know what I look like, but
Right.
I'm sure people can figure it out. I mean, I always constantly make fun of my boy Steiner. He's like rapping like in front of his piece and being like, "Yo, I'm Steiner." Like you see my face, and I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't worry about actually being so exposed nowadays,
Yeah.
But if you're an Instagram lurker, there's some of those people that are like worse than the FBI. They already know what I look like.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm also at that age where I just did that panel thing. I showed my face. I don't think I'm out there like that to the point where.
Yeah, which is funny because it was blurred on your profile, but I guarantee the people that like documented that for sure are gonna put it out, and they're gonna.
They might. Yeah. It might go on YouTube. I mean, I'm there's other videos of me online. I'm not going to say how to get to it, but like,
right.
If but to me, it's not a big deal. Like there are people that go hard and I'm not one of them. Right. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm like a part-time,
yeah, I'm not nobody's radar. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
The only real bombing that I do ever is really international.
Yeah. That's always fun.
Yeah. So it's like, no one's looking for me out here for international shit,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for me too. There's a lot of other people that write Lost, I guess, out there. It's like very,
How's that like? So like, okay, so when did you come up with Lost?
Well, I've been at the very.
Do you have names before Lost?
Yes, of course. Yes, horrible ones, dude.
Care to share any?
No. Horrible. Says probably can tell you a few.
Yeah, I'll ask Says.
I think. I know for sure I was writing Lost from like 95 on.
Okay.
Because I have pictures of myself and Knock hitting things. So yeah, like around
That's
then.
a decent amount of time.
Yeah. And then, I mean, shit, I found out like there's actually one like OG Lost.
You're about to hit 30 years of Lost in like 2 years, man.
Yeah. But there was a guy who predates me from New York.
Oh, man, sucker.
From RI. No, not a sucker.
No, I'm saying you.
Oh, yeah, me. Anyways, yeah.
You need to be Lost too.
Yeah, I probably do. Yeah, I found out about him though, like way later.
Yeah,
so it's like it's a little too late to change my name,
dude. Yeah, I wrote a different name too, obviously, and then like in 2015, I wanted to change Myan. Because there was a girl who was writing Maya here in the Bay Area, and I was like, okay, I can't rock that. Mm-hmm. And then me and Steiner were kicking it, and he was like, why don't you write Myan, Myan? And I was like, that's a sick ass spelling. And so then I started rocking that, and I'd been rocking that for about a year. And I had posted a freight, and I did hashtag Myan, hashtag like freight heaven. Mm-hmm. And like, dude, this guy's like, you fucking toy, this is already a Myan, you're a fucking bitch, he's been killing it for years. And I'm like, what? Dude, I scoured the internet, I did everything that I could. I was like, I gotta find Mayans. And I found like one dude in Britain and another guy, I think in like Brazil. And I was like, okay, well, they're hella far away, so I don't give a fuck about them. But come to find out, it's fucking Mayans with an S, Myans.
Oh, yeah.
CDC. And I was like, damn, all right. Yeah, he's like rolling with macro and shit. I'm like, all right, I am Toy. I'm hella copying his name, but, I don't rock the S.
Well, I was thinking about there's Minus.
Oh, Minus? Yeah.
From, END, West Coast END crew.
MYNUS?
Minus. He like ran with Emer.
END.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about now, actually.
I
Now
forgot
that
how to spell his name, but yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean,
M-Y,
I'm not changing it anytime soon, so, come after me. Yeah. If you're going to lurk all my tunnel spots and go over me, it's fine. People go over me already as it is, so I'm not really tripping. I'll go back eventually.
Right.
So,
it's all good. I think it's all good these days.
Yeah. So 95, you're rocking Lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Super Toy, like, still till today, but like I started to like my shit a little bit more
just recently.
Yeah, just recently. The last piece I did, I kind of liked it. No, like there was a point in the freights where I was like, it's not bad, and then
you did a production in Oakland at a school with like Icer, Jerns, Suffer was there. Oh trying to think. This is I have pictures of it. I gotta go on Flickr and find it. But like
At a school in Oakland, was it
yeah,
Estria? Like all those guys?
I think Estria was there. I don't know. I mean, you can keep talking about it. I'll like lurk on my Flickr on the back end. But
The
like,
one I'm trying to think about, it's like it was like so Estria used to have battles.
I think you did a blue. It was like a blue dark, like
gray.
Yeah, like a blue gray.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was more simpler, and you didn't have as many hang-offs and stuff like that. But I remember there was an
Yeah.
icer there, and I was like, damn, I haven't seen an icer in a minute.
ICER MOP. Talking about the
Was he ICP? Or is it
Local-
TM7?
oh shit.
Icer? ICER?
Yeah, I think that day like Doves was out from New York.
I gotta find it on the like I said, I gotta find it on the back end. I know it was Oakland. Fuck, I'm trying
Yeah,
to
that was a
think.
long time ago.
Dude,
So
they have like 15,000 flicks on fucking Flickr. So.
I
Actually, I take that back. I said that on a podcast, and I recently looked at it, and I only have 13,000, so I'm a fucking woofer.
it's like how our freights, we used to be like, oh, we got like 500 freights. We probably had more, like 200. We tried.
How many freights do you think you have now?
Shit, I don't know, man. I
You lost count?
Like, again, context, right? Like back in the day, we used to do like 3 a night.
God, that's
But
so
it,
sick.
it wasn't like gigantic pieces though.
Yeah.
But like it was a numbers game, right? Again, we had to we were hoping someone's gonna catch one of them.
Yeah.
So you paint 3 a night, and then
Hopefully
sometimes-
one of them gets flicked in a mag.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you hit 2 yards. You got 6 pieces. So and it was like, I don't know, maybe 3 times a week for a few years.
Damn. That's how I am with scribes right now.
Yeah, that's tight.
That's my shit, dude. I'm like obsessed.
Keeping the numbers up.
Oh, dude. I will say this. I'm not cocky in like any other aspect of graffiti
But
other
your
than
scribes.
scribes.
I see your stickers up.
Right on. I appreciate that. That's cool.
Yeah,
You know.
I see your stickers for sure.
Yeah, scribes is my shit. I just love scribes. Yeah, the only people that I'm like, I can't touch them, but I'm trying to. The people that I'm chasing is Oyum, because
Okay.
Oyum's just a fucking beast on scribes. You can't go anywhere without seeing an Oyum scribe. Or and I could be butchering this, and I feel really bad, but Pseudo,
Okay.
SEUDOE, SEO or SUE. I could be butchering that, but that fool. Oh, and Pawn One. You ever heard of Pawn One back in the day? BN.
Yeah, I was gonna say like old school.
Yeah. That fool. Yeah. He definitely every single fucking toilet seat he's ever shit on. he
Dude.
always has a Pawn One facing him.
Talking
And it
about
just cracks me up.
toilets and twists. So
Toilets and twists. Please continue.
So
I'm already excited.
I used to work. I met my wife at Nordstrom. I used to work there.
Okay.
Funny enough, I was just in Chicago, and they're talking about how a lot of writers used to work at a Nordstrom out there too. Anyways,
okay.
In the pisser in the employee bathroom.
In the employee
In the
bathroom.
employee bathroom on the top ring.
Oh
There was
man.
a twist scribe on the shit.
So you worked in Nordstroms.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know, might have been temp or might have been there for a while. I don't know.
Oh, temp.
might
I
have-
didn't even think about that.
Might have switched out bathroom.
Because people don't really do
stall.
temp agencies anymore, man. That was like a
Yeah.
thing, you know. It was like, it's probably really weird for kids to grasp that, but like, yeah, you could have a regular job at Nordstrom's, and someone calls out, they call a temp agency to like
Yeah.
fucking cover it. But
Yeah.
now it's like, no, you just they don't do that. They're like, fuck that. Everyone just has to work double as hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you do inventory night. You gotta get people. Yeah, anyways, back to graffiti.
Right.
Where was
We're
I?
like shocking all the younger generation.
I know.
Everyone else that's like kind of our. How old are you?
40,
I can bleep it out.
43.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
All right. Well, whatever. Yeah. So I'm about to be 37. So you got 6 years on.
Yeah.
I was in middle school when you were a senior,
Yeah.
but I still was able to catch the tail end of the stuff that you were like into and shit. And so like, it's funny. The people that are like, you know, kind of in our generation would be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what they're talking about. Everyone else is like, what? They used to do that?
Yeah. No, I mean, again, the context, man. Like we used to have to go to the library to do our homework, right? We used to have encyclopedias
yeah.
to look up information.
Yeah, internet
like,
at home was like, you know, other than 1,000 free hours of
Right.
AOL,
AOL.
you know, I definitely had a library card. I mean, fuck,
Right.
the
Yeah.
library was the shit. That's what was my introduction into like punk, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
I definitely got into punk before that, but I'm just saying like really like expanding, you know, like the library that I went to You know, they had a huge section of music, and like I would just go there and rent a CD, and then I would like burn it to my Xbox One, because back then you could put music on your Xbox, and like
Interesting.
and so I had like 500 songs on my Xbox that I'd listen through to my TV, and that was like, I've worshipped that Xbox for like ever, because that was all my music collection and shit. I remember getting like Vans, you know, Warped Tour CDs and shit, and compilations, and being like super into that kind of music. And so yeah, no, the library was like a huge plug for me.
Yeah, I'll date myself and say like, back in my day,
Back in my day,
like CDs were new for me, man.
yeah, you're rocking tapes.
We had to like wait for the song to come on the radio, like.
Dude, I still, hey, listen, I still have some of those tapes. Yeah, for sure. Actually, I was having this conversation today. We were driving, me and my lady, I dropped her off at her friend's house in the Mission. She's gonna kick it with her, and we were driving by Club Malibu, and my dad used to work there. And that was when Chewy Gomez was the DJ there. Before he was Chewy Gomez, he was just like, you know, Chewy, the DJ at Club Malibu. And I remember going there as a kid, and I don't remember how old I was, maybe 8. And Chewy and my dad were like, cool. And he like walks up to me and he's like, hey, you want a tape? This kid's just getting out. He's getting popular. You might like it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he gives me this little demo tape. And, you know, I think nothing of it. It's fucking Freak Nasty. I put my hand up on your hip. When I dip, you dip, we dip. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Dude, I got the demo tape for that from the 90s, you know? And I just remember like, oh, this song's sick. And then like a month later, it's everywhere in the radio, you know? So it's just like, yeah, I definitely... That's that era, man. It's like, we're getting nostalgic over here. Bunch of old men talking shit.
Yeah, man. That was, I mean, I think it's important though, right? The analog period, in the context of graffiti, at least, like, you know, things moved a little slower.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, if you think about it, like, graph came out to these different cities via New York, right? Somebody maybe moved out of town and moved into somewhere else, you know, like, for us, like, Revolt moved to Baltimore, and then Cuba was in Baltimore, and then Cuba moved to San Francisco. And then,
right.
You know, other people from New York moved out here, and then you got people like Orko from Chicago, and all these other people that brought different looks on style that ended up becoming our region. But being San Francisco, I feel like we've had so many out-of-towners all the time, that our you know, view on graph was maybe a little bit more open than some other areas that were smaller.
For sure.
Like, you know, Psycho City back in the day. I used to go out there.
Yeah, I mean, what was that like?
Fucking amazing, dude. Like, I mean, you know,
Franklin Auto, right?
Yeah, Franklin Auto too. I guess I used to just call it all Psycho City because it was like all in the same little area.
Right.
But yeah.
So Franklin Auto wasn't a part of Psycho City?
I think I don't know what was what.
I just remember I'm obviously I wasn't there, so I was just referencing to what I know. I think it was Inc. OTC. Oh, I gotta take my birth control. Sorry, no, it's when my lady. She's always constantly clowning. She's like, "Go take your birth control." It's my high blood pressure medication because I'm getting old.
Oh, right on. Hey,
I don't want to have a heart attack anytime soon. You know?
Yeah, take it, man. Take that shit.
God, this is the oldest podcast ever. Let me take my medication real quick.
Yeah, my back's hurting. I might need to stand up in a second.
I got some aspirin for you, dog.
No, but go ahead. No, Psycho City was dope, man. I remember seeing like the Dream Spy piece all the way up top, hearing stories about how they did that. You know, Spy's piece was backwards, super dope. I used to remember there was like a TU tunnel. There was a bunch of, I mean, Whim pieces. I used to see Razor pieces. People from everywhere.
I gotta do that ASMR.
Yeah. BA was like really starting to come up back then. I think I ran into Jace back in the day.
Jace, Neon Giant.
Yeah, well, it was Jace, Giant, and Joker, I think. And this guy Ski from Puerto Rico was there, I believe. I think that's where he's from. Somewhere or there, Brazil. Really dope. I think he's in FX these days.
Sick.
My bad if I'm getting that wrong, Ski. But yeah, I got his autograph back in the day. I remember I got Jason's autograph. Jason's one of those guys I used to remember in the city all the time. Mm-hmm. My brother and I used to think he wrote JP because the E was kind of squished.
Yeah.
And then I eventually ended up meeting him. And like nowadays, like, you know, Jace, you know, I haven't seen him in a minute, but like, you know, that's the homie.
Right. I remember one time I was in Oakland. And I was on the tracks, and freight was going by, and I was like, "Whoa, a whole Jace, a Jase."
Yeah,
it actually spelled out because you always see the JE.
Yeah,
you know, so it was like the fact that I was like, I just seen something hella rare,
dude. Oh, I mean, you know, I used to catch Jace pieces like a lot before I even met him, and yeah, dude's like sick, dude. I mean, legend. And for him to have bombed San Francisco back when I started noticing Graph was, you know, it was real inspiring. Like his J was dope, and I mean, Jace is even from, you know, not native to San Francisco, like as far as from a stylistic standpoint too. So, you know, we had a lot of these other out of town influences come into the city. I think just especially being someone who didn't have like a mentor, like show me the ropes, I was able to like kind of freely like get inspired, quote unquote, by like a lot of people, you know?
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think BA crew was actually a huge inspiration. I used to always see their productions. I think they filled in a blank where I think some other crews were stopping around the time, you know, sort of mid 90s or so. And BA was like still going hard, and they had all these like diversified stylists in their crew. You got a Giant poster up right there, right? Giant was killing it.
Yeah, that was at his lecture at the Art Institute in 2013.
Tight.
Yeah, that's when he was like still involved with Rebel 8. So I was wearing a Rebel 8 hat, and this is me being a toy here. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the Giant lecture with a Rebel 8 hat, and he signed it, and I haven't worn it since. It's still in my hat collection in my bedroom. And then yeah, I bought that poster off of him, and so yeah, definitely
That's tight.
big fan of Giant.
Yeah, he's dope. Yeah, him, Adam used to be up a lot. We used to run productions, of course, Apex and Jace. Yeah, there was, I mean, I think I got really lucky just like growing up in the right area, you know, like those were some of the guys I used to take a lot of pictures of throughout the years. And,
Yeah.
you know, like the Giants Stadium, the
like
Giants
the dog
Stadium,
patch and all that.
Yeah, like that little, there used to be in the Giants parking lot right now, there used to be a yard. It used to be a big train yard. It predates my life probably, but when I used to go around there was like tons of lines, like empty lines that weren't being used. So you know it was a train yard back in the day. And I guess like at some point there was a big strike in San Francisco, and everyone started moving operations to the Oakland side. So San Francisco essentially lost like a lot of that activity. You know, we got a roundhouse that people paint a lot.
Am I tripping? Is this an earthquake? You feel that?
No.
Maybe it's just like my blood pressure medication hitting.
Is everything shaking in here?
No. I just for a minute there, it felt like the whole fucking room was shaking for a second, like very lightly. It wasn't.
Oh man.
I'll look at QuakeBot on Twitter in a second.
You gotta take your medication. Dude. That alarm went off. Dude. Maybe that's something's going on.
No, I already took it.
That shit's on point, dude. It's like exactly to a second.
No.
Like
I could have sworn it was like an earthquake for a second. So some shit happens here every once in a while. When Twigs was here, all of a sudden, like all these lights fucking just fell, and he was like, "What the fuck? Your place is haunted,
dude." He should have warned me. Thanks, Twigs, dude.
Yeah. Well, no, I pulled
here.
out the Palo Santo. You know what I'm saying? Had to like bless the room real quick. You know, ward
Put
off
the
some
sage
spirits.
out. Just
Oh yeah, you know, I gotta be like extra beaner about it and start praying and shit like that. You know.
Jesus, dude. All right, I'm gonna wash my back in here.
No, it's good. It's good. There's no espíritus in here.
Damn. All right. Yeah. Anyways, I forgot where I was with that.
No, it's all.
Random.
This place is haunted. Fuck this podcast. I'm out of here. No, we were talking about the train tracks and the dog patch over by San Francisco and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, and again, Twist had some stuff over there. There was some really dope stuff. You know, I remember like seeing like soap pieces, rest in peace.
Oh man, yeah. I came across one that's still in the city today from '98.
Ooh,
Hell in the cut, and
like
I'll
a
never
like
show
a
it.
pit,
Huh?
like a pit kind of situation.
No, it's like behind a business, tucked
Mm.
but against the wall. Like I'll show you the picture and I'll let you know where it's at because I mean you're like from here, but like you don't want to like give those gems out, right? But
Yeah.
like it's him and Gesso, and so
Oh,
they got a fucking little spot, and it's BA 1998.
Gesso's another guy who I like was hugely inspired by. Like
Yeah.
I remember his tag back in the day. It almost looked like it was like numbers the way he wrote it. And my first tag when I was running,
You're like, I'm rocking numbers.
yeah, I kind of had like a
Upside down 7. You
Nah,
did
not like
0,
that,
a
but, like,
5.
sort of his
Remember pager
approach.
code?
Oh yeah, dude.
That was
hardcore.
my shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
So,
totally. Yeah,
dude, that's the shit. So yeah, for those that don't really know what I'm talking about, trying to think how you would do Myan, but it was like
177.
yeah, exactly.
4, 8.
8. Is it 8? Yeah, and then the N would be what?
17.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like the 177, if you put it together, makes the Y. Obviously, the 4 looks like a Y, or excuse me, the 177 looks like the M.
Yeah.
And then the
Y is
8
the
was like
4.
a A. Yeah.
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 That's so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, dude.
You
Yeah.
look at your pager and you're like, oh, I know exactly who's calling me.
I can't believe I like just like.
Yeah, man. Hey,
Yeah, I
pager
remember
code.
all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's because I, you know what it was is that like I know my real name in pager code, but I had to
Gotcha.
think about mine and being like, oh shit, what would that be?
Right.
But yeah, the pager code was like a thing.
Yeah.
You knew who was hitting you and shit. Hit
Yeah.
you on the hip.
Yeah. Definitely.
Hit me on the hip.
Yeah, man. But yes. Anyways, going back to the graph stuff.
Right. Yeah. Sorry,
It's all
my
good, dude.
ADHD is like super high today.
No, so yeah, so like again, where the Giants ballpark is right now, that parking lot was a nice yard. Even AWR and them ran through there before it broke down. And then, like you said, the dog patch area, like Mariposa, there's a lot of spots around there. Every little nook and cranny, there was like just different walls going on over there. And
Remember Tire Beach?
yeah, remember Tire Beach?
Tire Beach was sick.
Well, Tire Beach was right next to the Ghost Yards.
Right.
And I remember going to the Ghost Yards and like all the trains that were in the old buses and trains and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and other spots around there. I'm not going to give away too much, but yeah, like there was.
I mean, most of those spots are damn near gone.
They are
you know,
damn
it's
near
like,
gone. The Tide building was super dope.
Dude, I have a hard copy of Jammer in the Thai building before it was even painted. Completely virgin.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's tight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On some old school lyric shit.
some of the homies, started like the silos, like Trees and Tenfold.
Yeah.
Were some of the first guys in the silos. Yeah, there's. I mean, it was dope, man. I think it was a really good time in graffiti.
Yeah.
To just like
A lot of
grow
that
up,
old
you know?
abandoned stuff before it got bought out and shit like that and turned
Yeah.
into whatever buildings are in now.
Yeah, I mean, I think like for not having the internet, we were pretty fortunate to have the people that were in or traveling through San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one thing that's always been really cool about San Francisco is that it's just the tourism and transit, people traveling and shit like that has brought in so many different styles and have inspired so many people. I mean,
Right.
you hear about it on Piece by Piece, right? Like it was like when AWR MSK came, and they like completely started going to the billboards and rooftops and really changing the game. It was like, all right, now all of a sudden everyone in SF is like, well, we got to climb too.
Yep.
It's like an entirely different thing.
Rollers and
Just,
shit.
yeah, and so like that, the Bay Area has always been like just a huge, like, perfect fucking formula for getting everything and anything, bringing it into it, and then elaborating on it even harder.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
that's always been really, really cool. We're very fortunate for sure for the history here that we have.
definitely. Yeah, and we're only talking about this side too. Like, there's a whole other thing going down the East Bay too, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, we had a lot of good art in our vicinity, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit about like the 650.
Okay.
Just because I mean it's like what
Yeah.
were you rocking really anything out here?
Not really.
Really? Yeah, you were mostly focusing on SF?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
And I think, I don't know, it might be like my cheap side, but like I didn't want to waste paint on anything that didn't really get a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah.
Um,
It's funny because when I was talking to Zeem, he was telling me he moved from, I think he said Roner Park is where he's originally from or something like that. He says it in the podcast, but
okay.
he moved to San Mateo and he was just like, yo, it was cracking because I'd hit Caltrain and it'd be like fucking crushed.
Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, like, you know, my main goal early on, like late 90s, was like freeway shots. Because you see, like, so many people see it, right? And the Caltrain shots, obviously,
Yeah.
a lot of them were you know, pretty accessible too, like a lot of Caltrain spots.
Yeah.
And we used to have this spot where the bus drivers would use the bathroom and they would leave their bus, and like it was like a daytime like catch bus shots, and
Sick.
you know, like those things, like
They got to piss eventually. We're
Yeah,
going to
they
catch
have-
hella
yeah.
bus flow on
oh,
it.
exactly. Oh man, I'm not gonna say where it was, but like we used to be like, we had a escape route, everything. It was
Wow.
dope.
Was
which
it inside of Muni or was it like,
Nah.
it was just like on the outside and you
was-
knew kind of like where you could dip?
Exactly. It was like the
Bet.
end of the line, but like not super busy end of the line kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And it's like there's, you know, like there's these little bathrooms. I don't know if you, but you got to like kind of look out for them. But there's like these Muni bathrooms, and if you go to like certain stops, you'll see them kind of posted up.
Gotcha.
And they're like little shacks. They don't say bathroom on them, right? But the drivers will hop out and go.
All the
in
bus
there.
flow kids are listening to this right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we got something to look for.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you know the spots.
Dude, these kids are
like,
crazy though. They don't give a fuck. Like they just start rocking everywhere. I think it's sick.
I think nowadays you probably don't even need to go that far, that strategic. But like,
Yeah,
for
dude.
us,
San
it was,
Francisco's
you know,
crushed.
Yeah, well, Oakland's even.
Well, yeah, for
crazy.
sure. I mean, Oakland's, but Oakland's Oakland.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, for the city that's like, you know, it's like you have all these yuppies and out of towners and like tech and this and that. And, you know, you have like the beautification of San Francisco. And it's just like, it's all went downhill very quick, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think Macy's is pulling out, Old Navy's pulling out off of Market.
Nordstrom.
You got fucking Mayor Breed over here, like destroying Market. No cars on Market or whatever. They're changing all that shit. And yeah, they're like completely blocking that whole.
No cars on Market. Huh?
Did this thing just fucking? Oh, I hit my fucking headphones.
Yeah, another ghost in here.
No. I hit this headphone set has its own volume control on the side, and it just went hella like dead. And I was like, oh, I can't hear myself.
Oh,
Yeah, that one doesn't. Sorry, you got the cheaper
all
headphones.
Good. All good. That's cool.
But you know, it's like San Francisco's like declining like crazy, and like a lot of the laws that have been kind of created for like cops not to chase people, and like, you know, things are being decriminalized. It's just like you just see like SF was sloping downhill really hard, and like these kids know that, and they're just like
Yeah.
taking hardcore advantage of like just fucking destroying the city, and I just love it. I'm like, yeah, fucking get it, dude. I mean, like, it's crazy, you know. It's just the other day I was in the Mission just hanging out for like a little mini punk show, and then fucking one kid had a can and everyone borrowed it.
Everyone had the can,
All of a
yeah.
sudden, fucking there's hollows and fucking bus flow all over the entire area. The bus is getting crushed and shit like that. And then the cop comes, they reroute the bus. It's not going down that block because its nose is gonna get crushed. And it's
Yeah.
just like, oh shit, this like literally all. I was like, sick, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's like a pro and a con, right? Like, it's dope that people are getting up, but like that also used to be like this sort of barrier to entry, you know, like the authority. Unfortunately, it's like one of those necessary things in our life, right? In our scene, it's like if this was legal for everyone to paint anywhere, then there'd be a lot of toys, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like a little bit of a barrier to entry where not only do you have to like hone your style, but like you actually also have to have the balls to go out and hit stuff, right? Like,
Yeah. That's a good point.
I'm not gonna lie, I took advantage of COVID too, right? So
COVID was great for graffiti.
yeah, I can't hate on that, but yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting like dynamic that
It's so insane. Sorry, I was just thinking about this. Right? It's so insane how, like, you know, just a few years ago we were like not trapped, but like, you know, we were like in our house. You know, like I was wearing gloves and a mask just to throw the trash out, like 10 feet away. I'm like, I don't want to catch this shit, you know. And then it was like Steiner called me and he's like, man, fuck this fool. There's nobody on the fucking freeways. Let's go paint. I'm like, all right. And I made it to fucking the East Bay in like 12 minutes. I'm like, what?
Oh my God, I missed that.
Dude, the traffic was like gnarly. Not a single person. What are you doing? Oh, I'm getting groceries for my grandma. She does, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I never got pulled over, but I had a couple homies that got pulled over. San Jose has always been a little more tougher though with the law. But like, yeah, I had a couple homies that got pulled over in San Jose. Like, where are you going? It's like, I'm getting necessities. Like, all right, fine, get the fuck out of here. But
yeah.
I didn't get pulled over. I was hitting fucking spots and like spots that are like by restaurants and shit like that are open at like 7 a.m. You know, you got the prep cooks and shit at like 6, and you're like, oh, you got to be cutty when you come down here. You know, there's like I'll tell you where I'm talking about, but I obviously don't want to say on the podcast. But there was a spot that I hit with Steiner actually. It's right under a restaurant in the East Bay, in like the nicer part of the East Bay, not really the Oakland, like more past that.
Yeah.
We went there at like 3 a.m. This was pre-COVID, you know, because we didn't want to get caught. And so we were like, dude, this spot is so prime. And we like made this plan in our head. We're like, we're going to go fucking bring like duffel bags and we're going to get like 3 pieces each. And we're going to spend, dude, we ended up spending 10 hours in this tunnel. Damn. I mean, literally, like we hit 3 pieces each, like full color burners, you know, and it was a lot of fun. But like in the middle of that, because it was 3 a.m, it was all dark, I fell into the water. I fell into this river and I like was able to stick my backpack up in the air before it like dunked, so that didn't get wet. But like,
how deep was the river, dude? Jesus.
Probably to my knee.
Okay.
It was probably to my knee, but because I tripped, my whole body went in.
Oh, okay.
So I was able to like hold myself up with my left hand, but with my right hand, I stuck my backpack up. And like, so my paint and my phone and my camera weren't drenched, but head to toe, I was drenched.
Jesus.
You know, and so I spent 10 hours in this cold ass tunnel.
Yeah. You're not going to dry up in
sun
there.
And so, you know, we hit that, and then like, you know, we just had to deal with it. It was like, all right, we went in at 3, you know, we were there for like 10 hours. We left at like 1 p.m, but at that point the restaurant, but we were already leaving, so fuck it.
Yeah.
But then during COVID, it was like 1 p.m. He's like, "Hey, you want to go hit that spot again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's no one there. Let's go." You know, it's like, and it was fucking gnarly to just like walk in midday to this hot tunnel that like everyone knows you're gonna be. You know, it's
dude. I mean, shit. Like, I'm not gonna say any locations, but there was a freight yard that like got really open.
Oh yeah.
During COVID, and like every time you go there, day or night, there'd be like 8 other kids in there.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, like your post about the bull. That shit's hilarious.
Oh yeah, I saw you repost that.
Dude. I mean, and
I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah, dude, that's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Because like you know, like at that spot, like that's how it is. Like the bull rolls through and they can't do shit because there's so many people there.
Yeah.
And like that dynamic to me is just so crazy. Like I know people that got rolled there 20 years ago, like hard. Like I'm not gonna mention any names, but like we may or may not have already talked about some of these people, and like now there's like the bull can't do anything.
Like flip off the bull, like fuck out of here.
Yeah, what's he gonna do? Like you're hopping through lines, like this fucking live yard,
right?
Like,
which is like, you know, crazy because like the first time you and I met was because of that. We like did from the bull.
Yeah, it was technically it wasn't the bull, but yeah.
Okay, well workers and shit.
Workers,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, 20 years ago, you see a worker like.
You're spooked. Yeah, you're like, I'm out. This is it.
Now, like some of the workers are like either ex-riders or like know about graphs enough that they're like, okay, like you just don't go over the numbers and tape off your shit, and if it's an auto rack, don't paint with the cars in there, you know. Yeah.
The coolest fucking experience I ever had was I was painting a spot. I can't remember if I'm gonna repeat a story. I'm that old man that repeats stories. I think I said this in a previous podcast, but yeah, we were painting, and all of a sudden, fucking the worker ran up, and we were like, "Oh fuck!" And then and the guy that was hosting us at his yard, he just straight up was like, "Hey, blood, do we got to run or not?" and the worker was like, and you hear him talking on the microphone and shit, and he's like, "Hold on, I'm checking something," and he's like, "What?" And he's like, "We're gonna run, so you just got to let me know. Am I gonna keep painting or am I gonna run?" And I was like, "Damn, this was gangster." And he goes, "Nah, I'm just here to let you guys know we're pulling the line in 15 minutes. It's fucking Easter. I'm trying to go home and get drunk."
Nice.
You guys have a good one. And I was like, swear. And sure as shit, like 15 minutes, like
they pulled the line.
Yeah, but it was like slow, so I was still able to hit the highlights while I was like, you know, I was like crab walking, and like had enough time to like run back to my bag, pull the camera,
your horse stance.
Yeah, catch a couple flicks and shit.
Yeah, dude, that used to be the only time when I would paint a daytime train was like Christmas or like. You know,
Christmas at the fucking I'm gonna bleep this out, but at the yard, because I live, right there on on.
Yep.
And so like I would just literally walk over to the yard, dude. I have hundreds of flicks of that yard.
That was my spot back in the day.
Yeah, dude, I go there all the time, and most of the time I just had just a mean streak, catch a bunch of monikers and shit. But for sure, Christmas Eve, I'm catching fills, and like it was Gucci.
That was I would say, and bleep that out. But like that yard was where I like really figured shit out for myself.
Yeah.
Like, watched the lines, got the schedules, understood, what that spot was, what they were doing there. Where and why the cars were so dope that were coming through there. I knew when they would pull in cars and they would park them in this area that was like crazy chill. Like I remember painting a bunch of like flat Western Fruit expresses by myself because it was in such a good like spot in the yard.
You're like far away from everyone. You're not from the main station. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Solid colds in there before.
Solid colds, really?
Yeah.
Fuck.
I have a flick. It was real shitty, but I painted a solid cold in there. One of my first cars.
Damn.
Actually, it was a solid cold.
Fatso's just hella jealous right now.
That's the homie. So I actually had a big...
Fatso? That's sick. That's
that was my like Railside Films that was like I made that company.
Oh, really?
And then
dude, Reefer Madness is like one of my favorite fucking movies ever.
Tight.
Like no, seriously, like I purposely this was like years ago. Now you can just go on you can Google YouTube download and download whatever YouTube video you want. But I went through so much shit when I first found Reefer Madness on YouTube to figure out how to download it and convert it to a DVD so that I could keep that copy, because I couldn't find Reefer Madness anywhere. You have no idea how many times I've seen Reefer Madness. Really? I can quote pretty much anything. Like, damn. Like, expect the unexpected. Like, bro, don't get me started on Reefer Madness. That's crazy.
A lot of footage in Reefer Madness is mine from that yard.
Wow.
That was a Reefer yard.
Yeah,
there was a solid cold of Fatso's that I caught in there. So
when he was on the phone, when he was telling, hey man, the homie fucking said here's the numbers and shit, and was that you?
No.
I was about to say that's crazy. Like,
there was another video.
What a small fucking world, Like I'm tripping.
Nah.
Like,
so I created a company called Railside Films back in the day, and then I forgot what it was, but I connected with Fatso and this guy Sector, and
oh my god, the Sector Fatso section when they did the rollers with the pieces and the fucking like metal just in it. Yeah. Oh my god, dude! The first time I saw that, listen, I'm still a fanboy to this day. All right, like that side of me will never fucking disappear. Yeah. When I saw that, I mean, this came out what, like 06? Man, because that was played from 04 to 06, I think, and then it was like
that's probably right. That's when I had my kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I so the first time I saw that, it's like I graduated 05. So like, like 1920, a couple years later, I think is when I actually saw it. I just remember seeing that and being like, whoa, dude, these guys just did a whole car roller, and then two. So for those that haven't seen it, and you can just Google Reefer Madness on YouTube, but
or buy it from Fatso.
I should buy a copy, actually. Does he have them?
I think he still does.
All right, I'm gonna buy one, because seriously, like, I mean, I have that on my hard drive literally as we speak. Like I'm looking at you like, I hella bootlegged Reefer Madness, dog. Dude. I stole from your company. I'm that piece of shit.
Well, so it wasn't. I mean,
it's just because you couldn't really find that shit. Right. It was like really hard to find. Like DVDs of that. But I mean, if it's something that's available, I definitely want to support the homie.
I have Transitions on DVD for sale if you're interested.
Oh, I definitely.
The one before Reefer Madness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. Are you kidding me? Like, I definitely will. What's your Venmo? I mean, you can kind of see over there. I got like Tales from the Rails. I got fucking Constructive Destruction,
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I'm
my wife would love for me to get rid of these DVDs. So
if
anyone wants one, hit me up.
You really should. I mean, you're talking about history, to literally see history is like something that you just can't, So, anyways, Reefer Madness,
I
fucking.
feel old. You calling that history, man? Like,
hey, man, 30 years of loss, dog.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, I met those guys probably on either like an AOL or maybe 12-ounce forums.
Did he ask for your age, sex, location?
Well, these dudes, I'm not gonna say exactly where they're from, but they're in Canada. It's like an hour time zone east of New York, even.
Okay.
So that's how far they were. I mean, like, bleep out where the yard, but like,
Yeah.
we're on one side in the far west, like sort of south-ish west, and they are like far northeast. And I would catch trains of theirs and vice versa. Like they would catch holy rollers or something from my holy roller or someone from our yard.
Sick. So they already knew your name just because you guys would see each other's cars.
Yeah, I think we traded flicks, and
That's
then,
insane. And they're in Canada the entire time.
Yeah, the whole time.
That's so tight.
I think Fatso did a little bit of moving around, and he got in a few pretty awesome crews. I think he was like in Quota, and
Dub H.
he was in WCB eventually too.
Oh yeah, wet chewy boogers.
Yeah. But yeah, like they kind of took it and ran. Like I think I kind of fell off. I did a lot of benching.
Yeah.
I'd bench a lot of spots out here from the Bay up into like, the Sacramento area.
Yeah.
We have a really big train yard in California here. A few. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some in Southern California too.
Yeah.
So a lot of that footage is mine.
Damn. That's gnarly.
And then, like the whole story, that was all Fatso, like Fatso and Sector going around trying to find solid colds. And
Yeah.
he hit a few. I mean, I caught a solid cold of his. It was like a black filled yellow outline, something like that, or maybe reverse of that.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually, the section when Zine is talking about how I'll never go to Paris, but I'm still gonna be here hitting those fucking yards. That,
Yep.
And he's talking about like the paint, how it's changed
Yep.
in the names and whatever. So above that is a Gento BFK, right? And he has the interview with Gento and I think Pavs or Cavs.
Yep, Cavs. Yeah,
Cavs.
Cavs. I don't know.
I think Paz is the guy that was making that he like punked Cavs or whatever when he's saying that he was getting up in like 92, 93 or whatever. But I'm telling you, I know that movie in the back of my head. I'm like not kidding.
You give this weird look.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so so I caught that. I benched that years later.
Dope.
And I remember going to that yard.
Yeah.
And I'll just and the Gento was a floater.
Yep.
And then I was like, I know that floater, and I ran so quick on the track and flicked that Zine and Gento. I was blown away. I was like, no fucking way. Like 20, 30 years later, am I catching the Reefer Madness Zine Gento fucking, And so I was like nerding out because I got to see it in real life. It was like a really cool.
A lot of BFK freights would roll through that yard. A lot of reefers. You can tell like the pool that the yard got, right? That particular one, it was going to the Bronx, right? For sure. It was going somewhere in Texas, and every once in a while it would have somewhere up in like Seattle-ish area, because you could tell just by the people that were on there. And it would go down to like where Kick's from, which if you know old Kick trains, he would write city. I'm not going to say a city, but I used to catch a lot of Kick trains. Right?
Damn.
Back in the day, it would go up and down. That yard was dope, man. It was one line, but like it had reefers. Like that was probably the most important thing about it.
Yeah.
But that's where I grew up, man. That's kind of like, it was the closest spot. That's the spot I would bring Japan to. And then he, I guess in turn, would bring me to the other spots, which were way bigger and had way more awesome.
Right.
It didn't have reefers, but I had like, that's where I figured out like about holy rollers, which at some point I guess they were called King cars because that's what the only person that was painting them was King 157.
Yeah.
He would do them pretty hard. So in other towns,
That's when he was rocking TLT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys also had some holy roller spots too.
Yeah. That's like Central California TLT. Those were like freight riders.
Yep.
That's old school freight. Yeah.
Yep. They had a nice yard. I'm not going to say where they're from, but they had a nice yard.
So
as well.
the Easter dude that was like, I need to go drink. That was at that yard.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I go down there a lot because I got a couple homies that are like, oh, come through, fool. I haven't seen you in a bit. I'm like that, and I'll go there and fucking.
Yeah.
I love that yard.
It used to get a little spicy.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna repeat it again because I you run out of stories and shit because I'm always talking. I'm the same host, right? But it's like I have multiple people. But I think I said it in a previous one. But there was a time where I went to go paint that yard at night, and so it was me and Odom from UGS, and we're rocking a complete flat Armin. And I'm just like, oh my god, hell yeah! You know, there's only like one tag on it, so we get clean Armin's. They're on like a TTX or whatever, and then fucking shout out to Preach DCV. Fuck
Okay.
I feel bad for forgetting about that, but Preach DCV and P's DCV. They were like, they're the homies, and they were like, Doug, fool. I was like, what? He's like, get under the car. And I was like, what the so I jump under the fucking
Jesus.
the car, and literally as soon as my feet tuck in from the fucking the car, helicopter, boom, spotlight right on us. Oh shit, my balls go right into my stomach, bro. I'm fucking shook, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, what do we do? You know, and he's just like, nah, fool, it's good. You know, he was telling me that they have heat sensors, but because we're under a refrigerated unit, you're straight. And so I was like, damn, all right. And then so we like, you know, we're like, all right, we waited out for a second. We hear the fucking helicopter. Obviously, you can hear it clear as day. So it fucking, it dips or whatever. And then we fucking crawl out of the car and shit. And I was like, all right, well, fuck, let's go. And he's like, nah, fuck that. Finish your piece, fool. And I was like, oh, dude, they're gangster. And so I was like, all right. But my piece came out like shit because I rushed it. I was shook. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
No, you put a piece of coal in my ass, a diamond would come out. It's so much goddamn pressure. Like I'm telling you, I was shook. And come to find out though, there was a bar nearby that yard, and like a bunch of fools got into it. And one dude got stabbed, and so he ran into the lines to hide from the cops, and that's who they were looking for. Later on, he told me that like a week later. And I was just like, oh, fuck, all right, you know. And then we came back the next day, caught Dayflix, and that was Easter Sunday. We caught Dayflix, and he was like, cool, we got time to probably get another panel or two. And so we ended up getting like 3 panels in the day. Nice. And that's when the dude ran up on us, and he was like, nah. And I was like, oh, man, why didn't we come during the day? It's so much hotter at night. Fuck you guys.
Dude. I mean, man, we all got those like really weird stories. I think it's funny that a lot of times nowadays, people that burn out the train yards are like not writers, right? There's someone stealing
bippers,
the reefers, or like the fucking, you know, someone
freight bippers.
Breaking, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's been going on for years too, right? Like, I even know some writers that used to do that back in the day, but that kind of shit really burns yards, dude. Yeah,
oh, absolutely. I mean, fucking Jammer was telling me he was in Mexico City with Griffo, and they were catching some holy rollers.
You're just name dropping everywhere, huh? You're just name dropping everywhere.
Nah, these fools, they don't write. Nah, Jammer and Griffo love the notoriety. But yeah, they're in Mexico City, and fucking all of a sudden, you know, fucking Mexican military pulled up with like M16s. Like, what are you stealing? They're like, we're just painting graffiti. And like, get the fuck out of here. You know, just like kicked them out of the yard, but. You know, they were worried about the freights being like robbed rather than a couple people wanting to paint, you know? So it was like, oh, okay, like you guys are old as fuck and stupid. I don't know what you're doing here. You're like, paint? Get the fuck out of here. There's like fucking
Ferromexes, like,
you know?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of our cars end up going down there anyway. So like, you know.
No, hey, man, there's some really cool graffiti in Mexico.
Oh, yeah. There's some really good writers out there. Shout out to Modic and some of those TOM dudes. Like, they're, you know, some really dope writers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with traveling, I mean, I definitely want to get into that. How's traveling been for you and graffiti? We talked about Belgium earlier, but like, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think like early on, so I got lucky, man. Like, I guess going back to the story, like working in design, it wasn't a nice, like well-paying job in the beginning, but the internet started to explode. And all of a sudden being a designer was like a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you can actually get paid pretty well now. So I did the startup thing. I still kind of in the tech space, but got lucky because a lot of the companies I work for, they would fly me to places. There was a company I worked for that was based in New York. So every month I would go out there.
Oh,
I was like the only product guy. I was running product and design and coding the front end. A bunch of shit, managing developers. It was, I'm not going to say the company, but it's kind of a known, hated company in some ways.
Ooh, I can beep it out. The power of post-production.
I'll tell you after.
Right,
the CEO ended up scamming a bunch of people out of a lot of money.
Ooh.
And what's that motherfucker's name? So he he used to work for Harvey Weinstein.
Oh
And,
well,
like idolized him. And,
yeah,
like,
that
yeah, pre all that shit. He
Right,
was
right.
Like, always like Harvey used to do this. Harvey did that. Anyways,
yeah,
It
that
was
fool's
a-
a rapist.
yeah, it was a good reason to go out to New York though, which was nice for me, right?
You ever hear just catching graph like freights
Yeah.
and shit on rapist money?
Yeah, exactly.
That's fucked up. Oh, that's fucked up.
Oh my god.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to bust you.
Yeah.
I'm just like roasting you at the same
No,
time.
that's all good, dude. No, I just took that rate money, but yeah, no, I charge everything to the game. You know, like it just the guy was from that culture where you could just
Right.
like okay, expense it, whatever.
Yeah, from like the 80s and shit, just doing hella coke and like
Yeah,
fucking the offices and stuff like Wolf of Wall Street type shit.
Probably.
I'm not fucking leaving.
exactly. So like, man, I used to stay like near Times Square, and like I remember catching the cab to the Bronx, and like half the cabs were like, nah, I ain't going up there. I had to like catch a train to, another train and go
Right,
up there.
right. Transfer and shit.
Yeah, meet up with the homies out there. But that was a good time. I got to, get down with some of the Fly.ID guys. And then, switching companies, there was a company that had me managing people out in Austin through my homie Amused, linked me up with Sloke. So I was hanging out with that guy a bunch out there, and he comes out here now a bunch. So it's like we get to paint here and there. Like I said, like every city you go into, there's always like a writer or someone that you can paint with, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you can crash with them. Going to Chicago, like tons of homies out there because Morgan, who got down with DE, was from Chicago, kind of moved back and forth from there.
Yeah.
He's in his own cruise in Chicago. Ended up meeting a lot of people from there. Amuse is from there. I got Salt Lake City. I mean, yeah, just there's like people and you got homies in different area codes like,
Right.
across.
Yeah.
Even when you go to Canada, there's like someone to meet up with, and now Mexico, and then more.
You're just
so-
getting the red carpet everywhere.
not the red carpet
On the
but I
company
mean-
dime.
yeah, the company dime.
Yeah,
exactly.
okay. I
yeah.
feel that.
And then
I'm not hating on that.
Yeah, I mean you're getting.
That's what I'm doing in
you're
Orlando.
Exactly,
I'm
you're
on the
gonna
company
get-
dime out there.
Exactly.
I get my $30 per diem.
If I remember correctly, I don't want to bust anything out, but I think I heard there used to be Tropicanas there back in the day. I don't know if they still have that.
The juice.
Yes.
Yeah, that was Eric. No, I'm trying to think. Who was that? And fucking, you use Montana? It's fucking. God, I'm
what
not.
you're talking about.
I'm sorry. You know what? That's
No,
my
dude.
tism. It's just. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's my
It's like you got Tourette's. You're just like-
yeah, dude. I got the tism. All right, listen. It's going back to Reefer Madness.
Gotcha.
When they're talking about the juice, right? And they're talking about hidden Tropicanas because they're talking about the priority lines of like passenger Tropicanas and intermodals. And the one guy's like, if you're hella poor and you can't pay for paint, that's not my fault. We're out here paying for Montana. And he's like, these fucking rednecks are talking shit about using Rusto Stopcat, and he's like making fun of him. He's like, you use Montana. I literally say this line all the time. Dude, it's so funny. You of all people had to be the fucking Railside Productions because I'm over here like my tism. I'm a parrot, dude. Like I'm really a parrot. Like my fucking lady goes crazy, dude. Like if there's like a funny TikTok, all of a sudden like I'm saying that TikTok for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
I
hear
I
that.
might have Tourette's, bro. Like I don't know. Like I for sure am like I'm definitely I got like an extra chromosome.
Now, there's movies that like I think like Beat Street is one that I could probably like recite from start to finish, and like there's been like Graffiti, like for example like Videograph, I think it was 8. It started off with Clark, Fly.ID, and Cess in a pool, and then they ended up going it was like a West Coast invasion video or whatever. They had Dream on there.
Okay.
King was on there. Dare. I think Rasta. It's like all these people were on there, right? And like, down in LA there was like Tyke and Just, right? Shout out to Just. Like those videos I can like recite. I can remember exactly what happened. I can remember like the track that they played, even though I don't know exactly what song it was. There's stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can recite.
I'm totally that guy. Piece by Piece and Reefer Madness are like my two that I can definitely fucking give you whatever line.
That's crazy. I don't think I've even watched Reefer Madness enough to be able to vibe with you like that.
You know what it is that there was a time in my life that like and this goes like we're gonna talk about mental health now. You know, I think like for me like I definitely have some sort of like, you know, I've never been properly diagnosed with ADHD. I always say that I have it because my mind works in different ways and shit, and I also suffer from like anxiety and stuff like that. You wouldn't think it, but safety movies, right? Having something in the back of just constantly playing, you know, it's like when people have like The Office in the background, Friends, the Seinfelds, you know, like those kind of things. They're just always in the background because it makes you comforted. You've seen this season 10 times, you know, every single little fucking, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, Reefer Madness was that. So like if I really wanted to get inspired, you know, right when I first got into UGS, I had a fucking fire on my ass, and I was like, I just got down with a dope crew. I've never really been a part of a crew ever. I need to really push harder. You know, I'm dealing with Steiner now and fucking Rammer, you know, who's fucking someone that I've looked up to. You know, it's like I'm crew with Psy, TFP, like, you know what I'm saying? So in my head, it kind of goes back to that imposter syndrome. I was like, you know, who gives a fuck about me? But for some reason, I'm hanging out with these guys. You know, now I'm a part of their crew. I need to step my level. How you were saying, right? You were like, oh, I need to push. I need to chase them.
Yeah.
You know, that was for me. That really was like my mindset of like
super healthy.
I'm not at that level. I need to be now.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay. And so what I would do is I would watch Piece by Piece and Reefer Madness constantly as my safety video in the background, and I'd be sketching and looking at those styles and getting inspired, and you know, being like, oh, this fool's got a hang off with an arrow coming off of it, and he's got a bit and a half circle coming off of that, and I'm just like, oh, that's fucking gnarly how he just you know,
you were biting hard.
Oh, listen, man,
you're getting down.
It's all right, you know, I'm a fraud. But it was just, you know, I didn't have that, you know, I didn't grow up with a mentor. Same thing, you know, it was like, you know, I always say Jammer's my OG, but it's like, you know, it's like 2015. It's like, you know, that was only like 10 years ago. So I was, you know, fucking 27.
Right.
You know, I'd been writing before that and got into graffiti, but I never had an OG as a kid coming up. And so like, you know, it was like, I had no one to look, right? Similar to a lot of kids nowadays. And so because that came before me, and I was looking at those things back in the day, inspired them. It was like, I really love funk, you know, and I really love like San Francisco history, that like New York train style, you know, just chunky, legible letters with like some sick jazz coming out of it. And so I wanted to emulate that in my graffiti. And watching Reefer Madness was like looking at those like train styles that had to be legible because they were going off at like 60 miles an hour down the rail, and you wanted to read it right. That shit inspired me, and so I always had that in the background. That's why I'm always constantly like, I can give you, like I said, literally every single line, and I can be like, oh yeah, you know. And so I would joke around about my tism and whatever, but that was my safety movie, and so I'd be sketching, and I'd see something,
look up every once in a while.
Exactly. I'd be fucking working on this thing and try to get the bend just right and erase it a little bit. You know, this is before I had Procreate, but you know, it's like I'd be, you know, killing hella fucking, you know, after I just racked a bunch of fucking, you know, mechanical pencils from Staples, you know, and you're like, all right, cool. I got my, you know, 500 printer, you know, a big old thick printer paper. I'm just going to sit here and bust hella fucking, you know, sketches and shit. And, you know, I ended up like back in the day, because I actually wanted to get into tattooing for a while. Okay. And I had a tattoo apprenticeship in Los Angeles for a while. And so I had like a light table for tracing. So what I would do is once I'd have a sketch that I'd really like, I'd Sharpie it, you know, and really line out the 3D and everything. But I'd always hit the light table and put a new paper on top, and I'd get the general letters, and then I would take it off, and then I'd start sketching more and elaborating more extensions and different arrows and trying, you know, so that kind of all goes back to like, and then I got into like Photoshop and Illustrator. I was vectoring my shit, and now I was trying different colors and it's changing the saturation and like hues.
That's probably the only thing I do with Procreate is I'll have a letter that I've already sketched on paper, put it on there, and just using Photoshop tricks like clipping mask or whatever, I'll just easily be able to like throw a new color scheme. Oh, how's that look? How's this outline?
Drop a gradient in there. Yeah. You know, change the hue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like fuck around on things and kind of like figure
for sure. And the color wheel color wheel totally helped me because now
Yeah.
I was actually visually able to see what was on the opposite side, right? So if I click on a fucking, on a blue on the opposite side of the wheel is like an orange,
Yeah.
and those contrast really well. If I go to pink, the green looks fucking great. And then I would
Yeah.
change the hue once those colors were already filled. And it would, that really helped me like how to get my color schemes and stuff like that. And I was able to build off of that. So yeah. So anyways, looking at Reefer Madness, that was my safety movie as
Right
I'm
on.
sketching.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why I can quote all that shit.
That's cool. I mean, and you're mentioning tattooing too, like, and then earlier you mentioned Ches. I think
Yeah, we were talking
mentioned
about
him.
that. Yeah, Ches and Thema. I don't know if it's Thema or Themo. Never got an official.
Right, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, we were
then.
talking about PFE. How they to me were like super inspirational. You
Yeah.
know, when they came to the Bay Area in the early 2000s, maybe like 2010. I can't remember specifically, but I just remember going lurking in those tunnels when because I similarly got into it that way too. I got into graffiti, but I started flicking a lot. And I was like, constantly taking pictures and lurking and this and that. And I was painting, but I also didn't feel like I was good enough to be in these tunnels. Because it was like, it was toy. It was extremely toy. And then so
Yeah.
it's like, you go into this sick ass tunnel. I'm in this underground spot and I see fucking Ches. Yeah, what am I gonna do? Paint next to him? Like it's like I have no business painting down there, and I wanted to respect these spots because I thought they were so sacred.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, that guy was on the forefront of those tunnels too, right? Like that.
Dude.
That was like I feel like now tunnels are really popular, right? But like
Oh yeah.
that was back in like you're going in there like you don't know fucking it's chilling in there or whatever, fucking
Yeah,
ghost clown or
man.
whatever.
Exactly.
But that dude, like Ches being, he's not East Coaster necessarily. I think he got down.
Oh, gotcha. I know Themo and I think Fed 5. They're like New Jersey.
Yeah.
Those are the dudes that like I really like their style.
I really liked Themo's style back in the day. I'm like before I even was like painting. I think I used to see his stuff, and I would think that like, because for me when I would sketch, at least it was always, I felt like the West Coast, if we were to have like a regional thing around it, like at least from what I was inspired by, was like this certain balance in letters, right? And when I saw some of those guys, the PFE guys, it was like a lot more asymmetrical, but it like worked really dope, right? It was it was like textured. It kind of flowed in such a way that like it was a little foreign to me, like how I would pull that kind of stuff off. But I always gravitated to those contrasts of like what I was doing.
You ever done a backwards L?
No. I don't think I
Because
have.
if you think about it,
It's a
you have
J.
your L going backwards and your T. How you do that kind of like hang off? You could definitely have like the pillars of your L and T
Interesting.
shooting out.
Jost.
Well, yeah, but I mean, obviously people know your style, so I mean, they're gonna if you see a D and a Fly.ID on there, it's like, all right, it's definitely lost. But like,
That's true. Yeah.
it definitely could do. I'm fucking with your brain a little bit.
Well, yeah, flip the S around. It's funny. I was talking to someone recently, the homie DK, from originally from Florida, but he was talking about how I have like the shittiest name. Like it's like, and I agree, right? Like it's like this. It's a L. Which
Have you
is
seen
like,
the other Lost here in the Bay Area? Sorry, this is hella random.
No.
Yeah, there's a kid fucking cat tagging Lost. I see him on the freeway a lot.
What?
Yeah.
That one, I thought it was Jost that has like a backwards L, like you're talking about. I've seen something with the backwards.
I've seen regular Lost, but it looked very similar to that. Just the one right there off of like going into either Highway 1 or 280 to go towards like the bridge.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I think I saw something that said Lost, but it said something else after it, like it was like some like Lost Cause or some shit.
Oh,
like that.
shit.
I don't know.
You remember Lost Energy Drink?
Yeah, yeah. Back in the day, there was actually a company called Lost, like a T-shirt company.
Yeah. I think they also did the energy drink. I think it was the same company. They had like the Planet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that. Sorry,
All good. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
sorry, man.
anyway,
My ADHD is like
Chaz, I wanted to bring him up.
Chaz, yes.
Because he was someone who also, like, when I was trying to figure out the production thing, he was already far ahead. Like, Chaz was already rocking photorealism. He did that, soon after did, like, a few Mac Dre walls that were really dope and known. I think one got into
the one in
music
Vallejo.
video. Well, there's that one.
Oh,
You're talking about the water tower?
yeah.
Yeah, that was one that he brought me out to. Painted a few pieces on that one.
Yeah.
But Ches was awesome, man. I think he really like.
Did he do the one in East Oakland?
There was one. Yeah, I think that's
Okay, so you know what? That production with the icer is close to that.
Okay.
Mac Dre. It's in
Nice.
that area of Oakland.
That was probably one of his most impressive, like large scale photorealistic pieces. Ches was like always on the forefront of shit, right? Like I think, you know, stylistically, even like on the GL side, you know, him and Natural were like really pushing this, like, I would say like it's almost like it's indigenous style, right? Like I didn't see it anywhere else at the time, right? Like not even the LA stuff was like it exactly. Like there was
Yeah.
hints of it,
Yeah.
right? But like it was like almost a different vein of that style.
I think it was like a huge, and it's kind of what I was telling you before we hopped on the mics. For me, PFE was like the most aggressive funk I've ever seen, the most aggressive wild style. That it was like,
Yeah.
it was kind of like a combination of like LA Cholo, spiky connector, you know, fucking like little to thin, you know, but then also
Right.
fill first, then an outline, clean highlights. You know, it was just like that traditional mathematical, tried and true fucking graffiti form in the way that it was painted technique wise, but the letter structure was just so
it,
like
flowed.
wispy and like
Yeah.
you know, very organic.
I think Ivory TM7 had some dope stuff like that too before he came out here.
That
Kid
shit
in an alley.
blows my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of dope writers. You know, New York was like, it was always nice to visit New York, right? Because they like, you know, just going to the Mecca and just seeing all the different branches of style that came out of there. Yeah,
As a kid, we used to call New York the Graffiti Olympics
why is that?
because it was like you made it.
Oh,
You know, it's like you went to New York to do graffiti. It's like that's the Olympics. They got the task force. That's where all these kings are. You got 5 points. You know, it's like all these things that is like, you know, you're at the Mecca.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
So-
You just feel it when you go there. Like
yeah.
that's how
It's like the city just breathes fucking, you know, that style. You know, so it was like, yeah. So that's what we called it. You know, I remember as a kid being like, I want to go to the Olympics one day. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean, you know, yeah, New York's great, dude. There's so many cities that have been just so awesome.
Well, you know what? Sorry to interrupt you, but that's what we were talking about. You were talking about your name sucks. Your homie was telling you your name sucks.
Right. I think that was like 2 conversations ago. So
Yeah, my bad,
Lost,
dude.
if you think about the letters, like as far as upper and lowercase differences, like if you think about a is a good example, right? I don't have an A in my name, but like an uppercase A is like a triangle with a line in between.
Yeah.
You could make it rounded, but also you have a lowercase a.
You
which
can rock
is
a circle in it.
a circle and a line, or you can have like the 2-story A, right? That has a little hook on the top, like a little,
Oh, yeah.
you know. So there's all these variations in those letters, and then the way to connect the A's is like so many different ways.
Yeah.
You can do it, you know, geometrically, or you can do it humanistically, right, from a typographic standpoint. But for Lost, it's like it's a L is a bar with a little nub, O is a circle. It's never gonna not be a circle.
Yeah.
An S is an S, like it's
Yeah.
a squiggle, like it's uppercase, lowercase, the same thing. The only letter that's different is the T, but like that's at the end of my name. It's like, you know, I can put the crossbar down, or I can put it
A little
bar on
higher.
top.
Yeah. Either capital or lowercase.
But like
interesting.
from a letter standpoint, it's
And
a
you
pretty
can't really
shitty
do
name.
any substitutes.
That's what I'm saying. Like upper lowercase, there's not really much, right? Like if I had an E in my name, the E's dope. There's like a lowercase E. There's several different kinds of lowercase E's throughout the history. There's the uppercase E. There's several, you know.
Yeah. That's
Cursive
interesting.
style
Because I swap my
E's.
shit all the time.
Yeah, well,
I do MYAN, MYEN because it's still my N. I do MIAN.
Yeah,
You know,
the A alone is like that's a money letter, right? It's got so much stuff you can do with that.
Yeah, yeah.
N's are dope too, right? Because you can, it's like a sideways Z, or like, you know, there's just so many things you can do with just that name alone. M's are also, you know, you can funk them out. There's so many bars in there.
yeah,
But like Lost is much more of like a blocky.
yeah.
It's like it.
I get what you're saying though.
it
You
lends
have a
itself
lot
to
of
a
curves and a lot of straights, and it's kind of like
Yeah,
you're very limited in certain things.
very limited. Yeah. So he was like, man, you got the shittiest name. But I think it was like a source of pride after a while. Like, yeah, I'll take this and I'll try to push it as hard as I can.
I mean, I think you've done all right.
Thanks, man.
I mean, and you know, I mean, I think a circle is, or excuse me, an O is a circle, But like, you know, I see you do O's where they are kind of like triangular trapezoids, you know, and you change the shapes of it, you know, so that they can match. Sorry, it's fucking,
Whoa.
you know, hey man, I'm ESL, you
accent,
know, and my beaner comes out, you know. It's like,
Is that a Latino accent right there? Mage?
no, not at all. I'm just
Okay.
saying that like I do actually fucking fuck up words a lot all the time. But yeah, I'll misspell shit all the time and shit. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is my ADHD. Maybe it is my fucking
Throwing NDAs on shit.
yeah. Anyways, you know,
Yeah, you should throw that on your mind. It's not an NDA, actually.
what?
An NDA.
Oh, an Enya. Oh yeah,
People
yeah,
always
yeah.
fuck with those like little accent things, like
Dude.
umlauts and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah. Like the two periods above the U.
yeah, the double dots, like lines and stuff.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah, I don't, but it would be like mine.
Yeah, I know. I was just
Mine.
thinking about that. Yeah.
Instead
like,
of
people
Myan.
really sounded like, what the fuck this guy trying to say? His name
Yeah.
is? Yeah.
It'd just be like that fool's a pendejo.
Yeah.
That's what it is more than anything, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it would be cool to like, and that's one thing that like you know, like I got to give my lady Tenshi so much props for is that she doesn't write TENSHI. She writes ten she in kanji. So ten is sky and she is messenger. So
She good with kanji? She good with the brush?
Yeah. Oh no, she's sick with the brush. You know, she's all about her Japanese heritage, dude. And so like, yeah, so she writes it.
Dope.
She writes in Japanese form. People are always constantly like, she writes tenshi. I can't read that shit. And I'm like, well, yeah, because it's in fucking Japanese.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to. It's funny because
Dude.
you know when we were in Japan last month, people were like, dude, no one in Japan writes in Japanese. You're like you're like coming from America writing in Japan in our country. What a fucking trip, you know?
That's funny.
Yeah, Watu. Shout out to Watu CBS. He's fucking in Osaka. He's total fucking player, dude. That fool's gangster as fuck. So he's got this Kalma Art is his shop, and so he's got some walls right in front, you know. And he's like, when people come over, he's like, yeah, paint the wall. He'll paint with you. So we painted with Watu, and we kicked it, and like 3-4 days later, some dude from like Warsaw, Poland went over me without his permission. And like he was just posting like, I'm gonna find you, motherfucker. I'm gonna and he like messaged me. He goes, this dude went over you, and I was like, that's fine. It's a legal wall. It's not a big deal.
Right.
He's like, no, without my permission though. And I was like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. He goes, I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna kidnap him. I'm gonna rob him. I'm gonna
Jesus,
beat his ass, and I'm gonna send him back. I was like, damn,
Japan?
yeah, dude.
Yeah,
like
bro.
Osaka is Oakland. As far
Okay.
as I'm concerned, I mean, it's nowhere near as fucking hood as like
Yeah.
Oakland. I mean, really,
Yeah,
Oakland's
yeah.
a very special place.
Right.
But in comparison, Tokyo to Osaka, it really is San Francisco, Oakland. Like you go to Tokyo and it's like, you know, it's tourism, is all the fucking, you know, you go to the Sky Tower and yada yada.
Yeah.
You know, it's where all the businesses where everyone wants to live. And you go to Osaka and it's like fucking, dude, it's so much more laid back. People are smoking weed. Like there's graffiti everywhere. It's like, you know, you can feel comfortable putting up stickers and shit. Tokyo, it's like a little shady. You're like, unless you're in Harajuku where it's like really fucking blown out, you don't really want to do graffiti anywhere outside, you know, or you fucking like it's crazy. But Osaka's like fucking chill, and like, dude, all these fools are just like gangster. They're into lowrider culture and cholo
Seen
shit,
that, yeah.
and like, yeah, it's really cool. So I definitely,
Wild.
yeah, shout out Watu. That fool's gangster. He will literally beat the fuck out of you if you do not ask permission and you go paint a spot. He will find you, kidnap you, and fuck you up. It's my kind of dude.
Yeah.
I got love for that guy.
Good friend to have on your side.
Yeah, I was like, man, you ever come to San Francisco? You know, I got you on spots. And he was like, fuck that. That shit's too expensive. He's like, I'll never go there. I'm like, oh, bummer.
If someone goes over me, you have to kidnap them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he was like, yo, go to Indonesia, bro. Fucking, that's the spot to paint. He's like, it's hella cheap. You can bomb everywhere. No one gives a fuck. I'm like, damn, all right. I got to go to Indonesia
You know,
now.
crazy enough, I haven't left the country up until last year.
Oh, really?
My 40s, yeah. That European trip was the first time. I've been to Canada, but then they kicked me out like immediately.
Damn. What happened with that, if you don't mind me asking? Ooh. That's already going to be... Hold on, I got to take a piss. I'm like...
I do too, man. Can you go to cross streams over here? Or what?
Yeah, right.
No.
We're in the train right now.
Yeah.
All right, back from the pee break. We were talking about traveling.
Yes.
So you said you hit Belgium. Was that the first place that you actually went to abroad?
Yeah. So, I think a few months before that, Took was like, we're gonna go out to Meeting of Styles Belgium, come through, and I don't know. I guess it was at that point where I was like, I need to get out of here just to like,
try something new.
yeah, I haven't been out, and like, I've always seen Europe. Actually, I mean, I guess we can even like back up a little bit. Like Europe, how do I say this? Like, in the magazine days, there was like European magazines, and the styles were different back in the day.
For sure.
We used to have I think there was like a term for it. But through the years, you started to see that Europe really started to kill it in like technically.
Oh yeah, Twigs was saying that on his podcast that Europe has lapped us stylistically.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'm wondering too, is it because they were introduced earlier to the better valve systems, right? I mean, even back in the day, like in the spray can art days, like,
My personal opinion is culture. I think Americans are so
like selfish
and arrogant and ignorant and just so like we're the best, so no one can top us. I genuinely believe this, because if you think about it, it's like graffiti started here. Technically, this is the origins of graffiti. We're the authentic graffiti writers because we're American graffiti writers, where this was created. And fuck who don't like it, we're the best. Right. And that's the very American thing to do. And because we've, as just culture in general, have inspired so much around us. Everyone looks at America for everything, as far as like movies, shows, sports things, this and that.
Right.
Something can be kind of popular in another country, and then Netflix will adopt it and bring it over here, and then like all of a sudden it explodes because we did it, better, right. But graffiti is for sure. And so I think the culture has always been America makes something, everyone else pays attention to it and loves it, but fucking takes it into its purest core, and there's foundations to it, and they stick to those foundations, and they evolve off of those foundations. There's, you know what I'm saying? It's like their house is extremely stable. Like for example, there was a time where I was, this was like 2012 when Lyft kind of, Uber kind of came into the game. I quit my job and instantly hopped on that because I was like, oh, I can go flick all this bombing and graffiti and get paid to drive around and talk to people. And so like,
hold on, I got to take a picture real quick.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I would obviously like clock off the app and then I'd take pictures, or like I'd make a mental note, like I got to go back there. Right. But every time I would pick up a European tourist in my lift, I always rocked hip hop. It was just like there was like a weird stage in my life where like I grew up basically listening to like either EDM or like hardcore death metal. There was no in between, right? Okay. I obviously had been around hip hop, but I kind of, when you do something too much, you get played out on it. So I started listening to hip hop and really paying attention to the messages and really going back to like the old school, like, 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, and really started paying attention to like a lot of that shit. And then I really got into sampling, and finding out where was the sample from, whosampledit.com, right?
Yep.
And so because of that, I would always like study. I'd create radios and playlists on Spotify, and I would just listen to hip hop. So I'd always have hip hop on my lift, and every single
Dilla head?
Huh?
Dilla?
What?
Are you a Dilla? Like Jay Dilla?
Oh yeah, of course. Donuts.
Yeah.
Fire. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Fucking, MF Doom and all of his instrumentals and shit, and so every single time I had a European tourist, they'd be like, "Oh, finally someone that listens to hip hop. You fucking Americans and your rap is bullshit. I don't know what the fuck this is going on. Finally someone that appreciates what, and then like, dude, British people would be like instantly like, oh, 5 stars, extra tip. Like this guy's fucking, he's playing the truth. And you look at like, we were talking about like the Cholo culture in Japanese, right? Like, when they embrace it, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, bro, some of them are more fucking Latino than I am, like the Japoneros out there are like really about that Cholo lifestyle with the low riders. They got the Dickies, the lip liner, the Aquanet. Like, I mean, they're really about that Cholo culture. So when someone outside of America embraces our culture, they really embrace it to its truest core. and they really just like keep it pure. And I think because of that, and adding on to what you were saying, having those valves, low pressure paint, right? You have your Montana, Germany, Montana, Spain, right? You have Loop. I forget there's a couple other ones, whatever. I think Loop's from Italy.
Yeah, it's Molto. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Molto, exactly. So you have the foundation for traditional graffiti at its purest point with the, you have the Renaissance and the art styles that are like based on, those real traditional foundations of art styles, Roman era and whatnot. And so you elaborate all of this with also a new lower spray paint made for artists with all these caps.
Right.
And you're only going to get the dopest shit ever. Whereas opposed to here, we're like anti-style stock tip fucking fills on the, and it's fucking shitty vandalism and fuck you. And that's all I want to do for the rest of my life. And then they burn out in like 3 years and then you never hear about them ever again.
Well, I mean,
that's me talking shit about like anti-style, but
you bring anti-style like back in my day, and I'm don't quote me on this because I'm not from Europe, but like the magazines that we were getting at Tower, a good amount of them, like you would call them Euro trash because it was like almost like anti-style.
Yeah,
it was like the letters were weird, but then all of a sudden you would just see, and then there were other, like, I don't know, I don't know what happened, but there was a change,
a shift
where Europe just started to really kill it, man. I mean, there was always really good writers, right? Like Dare, rest in peace, Dare, Sweat. Those guys were beyond their time, like back in like the, I don't know, late 90s. Dare used to do, for example, and I definitely want this to be known, like Dare used to do this shadowing technique on his 3Ds that I nibble from that today. I bite from that shit hardcore. And a lot of people do too. There's even like a YouTube guy that like shares the technique online, right? And it's like
I don't graffiti YouTube videos that crack me up.
And like I don't see anyone giving this dude props. Like Dare TWS from, I think it was like, I don't even know what city he's from, but I'm probably wrong, but like Switzerland somewhere, maybe something. Came out to America a bunch.
Not together with style, like European TWS.
Different TWS, yeah, definitely. Different Dare too, because we have a Dare in the Bay Area. Also much respect.
Yeah.
Dope styles too. But that Dare in Europe was not only had dope styles, but his technique on his shadowing on his 3Ds was like, I'd never seen it before. Maybe other people out there did that too. He might not have been the first one. I don't know. But as far as like publication wise, he was maybe one of the first ones I definitely noticed that was doing it right.
And you're talking about like where, because I think I know what you're talking about with your 3D. You do a lot of like where the light source is coming. Some of the, like the right side is darker, the light side is lighter, right? Depending on where like the letter is casting off of it, that one's darker. Exactly. It's funny is, for me, I was doing that hardcore for a while because of sign painting. Because a lot of sign painters do that style.
Oh, the one that I do? You mean the one that I do now?
Yeah, that 3D style is very sign painter.
That's where I got it from.
Yeah,
I got it from sign painter. So
okay.
Well, that's even, so if you go
and you're
back,
talking sign painting is predates fucking graffiti.
I'm talking about something completely different from that. If you're talking about like my 3D style where my outlines have 3Ds, that's from sign painting.
Okay,
like that. I've seen so. I mean, maybe this was like subliminal, like biting or whatever, but like Big Daddy Cool, I think that was his name in Europe. He used to run with like Diamond, those guys. He actually had like a style that was like that, but his approach was like very realistic.
Okay.
Right. Like, you think Dime, like his 3Ds were just like next level shit. And then the homie Took did like a piece where he did the outline and with 3D outline too, but it was like also in his own way. Where I came from, where I arrived at mine was like 100% sign painter, like inspired. But sign painters sometimes, the way it's like a certain color theory. The way they do it, they actually oftentimes use the fill-in color as the 3D area, where mine is like that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So I have a certain approach to it that like I can tell when people are biting my shit, because it's like that's how like I
how you do it.
yeah like
Yeah,
how
because
sci-
you use two colors for your 3D, and then use a lighter one for the outline to come back and kind of cut back onto. I pay attention to your shit, bro.
something
You
like
know what I'm
that,
saying?
yeah.
Because I mean, like,
There's
once
a few
again,
more colors in there too.
yeah,
Snuck in the little shadows
right,
and
right.
shit, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, coming from the sign painter world, I've seen that, and so when
Right.
I see your shit, I'm like, oh, I get it. So it's almost in a way kind of like doing like an inline for your outline.
Kind of,
With
yes.
right, I mean,
Sort of,
it's
yeah.
very loosely, but I'm trying to say that
Yeah.
basically, like, I pay attention to what you're doing. I see the techniques.
Yeah, and it was like one of those things too. Like
You're
the
all
homie,
right.
the homie Tenfold, shout out to Tenfold.
Dude,
so-
Tenfold, some of his shit is just like,
Oh, he's in a whole other like that's another topic. But yeah,
Right.
his lettering is just so like, it's like natural for him, right? But we were talking about the whole like inline 3D thing at the same time and sort of trading ideas on that. And so I think out of the crew, he was the first one to experiment with that. But also, I think his colors were like the way I was talking about, were like the fill in. Were part of the 3D. Anyways, I'm getting a little too geeky on the tech side.
no, it's all good, man.
What I'm
I like
talking
this
about-
shit because it's with podcasts, it's very much story wise, but talking technique and breaking down those that really paint piecing can pick up on what we're talking about, and that
little
and in the
things, yeah.
that's kind of that niche nerd shit that's like
Right.
it's fun because now we're talking about like the science of graffiti.
But I think what's more important, the original thing I was talking about was actually Dare, not even on like the what we can call like cookie cutter technique or whatever, where the outline pops out. He was doing just like a normal graffiti piece, but like where he would shadow over in the 3D section to like kind of give it
Dimension.
give it dimension where like, but it's still on a flat surface. It's kind of hard to explain, but
I get what you're saying though. So like if we're going back to the sign painter style, are you talking about adding an additional color to have another dimension
yeah,
coming off of that? So like if you have, say, your O is like overcasting the L, and you
Yes.
have a little bit of shadow coming off. You
Exactly.
have your normal two colors of like where the light source is coming from, but you have an additional shadow because the
Exactly.
O is technically hovering over the L.
yes, and
Yeah.
that on the 3D mostly, right? And
Yeah.
and that's something that I saw Dare. And again, I don't know. I'm not from his area, right? Maybe he
Right,
wasn't
right.
the first, but as far as publication wise, I feel like he was.
That
the
was
one
what you really saw, and you were like, "Damn."
Yeah, and for years I didn't understand it, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe even people in New York were doing that stuff, right? I know like later on, like Clark Fly.ID was kind of trying to walk me through it, like kind of similar to what we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Not really showing me, like, but actually just trying to talk through it.
Yeah.
I think I kind of understand it a lot more now, but it's I don't know. It's one of those fun things, right? That you're just like, it's something to push you to the next piece,
No, yeah, totally. I mean, I had this conversation with my nephew 2 weeks ago. We hit this little cutty spot, and he was like, "How should I do my?" He's like learning how to piece, and he's like, "How should I do my highlights?" And I was like, "Okay, look at your piece. Imagine on the top right there's a sun, and look at where the sun's coming from, and that's where you want to do, depending on the angle. If you want to do straight 45 degrees down left, this is how you want to hit your 3D. You want to hit every block line and then match them up and touch them." And he's like, "Okay, so where does my highlight go?" And I was like, "Well, if the sun is coming from there, the highlight's going to be there, and the shadow's going to..." It kills me when I see some of the sickest graffiti writers and they do a highlight on the same side of their shadow. I'm just like, blood, come on, you've been doing this way too long.
I mean, I think there's a place for everything, man. Like,
Yeah, I feel it.
like
Maybe I'm too technical. Another thing too is, and at
you
least
gotta be both.
yeah, all
know?
right. Maybe I'd be more loose. The biggest problem for me is that I also come from that Photoshop realm. So a lot of my 3D really helped me mathematically
Right.
because it's all digital,
Yeah.
So the computer is, so I would just grab, I'd do a duplicate layer and then fucking turn that into black and then bring it down left. And
Right.
then all of a sudden I
And then
just match
connect
up all
it.
the, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now mathematically I have my,
And then you do your blocks. Yeah.
yeah. So
I mean, I think for me, I like to always do like something different every time, right? So that might even be things that don't make sense sometimes. Like, it's one of those things that like after having a kid, looking back and being like, okay, what really got me into graph? It was the style shit, right? Like it was experimentation and growing, you know, always trying to push something different. And I looked back and saw I was just doing the same shit, right? So for me nowadays, it's more important to do something different than even for it to be successful, right? Like,
No, I mean, you were one of the first people that like, I mean, I'd seen it in sign painting as well, actually. It's funny, but like I've seen it in a couple things, but you're the real person that I first started seeing really pushing the 3D of the outline. So your outline is the 3D and your fill is just the negative space that's in the back.
right, right.
I saw that and I was like, damn, he's pushing that hard. And I kind of, in a way, I really look at that as like now, you know, I've seen other people do it and I'm like, all right, yeah, fucking taking a page out of Lost right there.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, you can like, there's like been people that were following me and then they did my shit. I'm like, oh, hey, that looks familiar. Like, I remember just one time, Spy called it out. Shout out to Spy. And then dude unfollows me and like blocks me, but it's like, yeah, you bit my shit. Like there's someone out there that bit my shit has a lot of followers and they know who they are. And you know,
someone's in their feelings right now if they're listening to this.
And it's like not even right, like how like they didn't do it right, but because they bought it, it opens up the world, everybody else to start buying it, and it's like whatever. I mean, that's just how it is nowadays.
Right. Unfortunately, nothing's really sacred once it's online.
Exactly.
I totally understand what you're saying, but you know, it's one thing that like if you do it like once in a while because you want to try something new and shit like that. I mean, you know, there's techniques out there you see in the world. There's things that I've seen that I'm like, fuck, I could never do something like that. Let me try it. You know, like the kind of like that, like LA style where, you know, they just do like an up fade in the middle of the letter to make it look beveled. I've never done that shit ever. And I tried it once and I was like, that looks cool, but I'm not going to do that every single fucking piece, you know? Like, it's nice to try new shit for sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's also good to know where it came from, right? Like, shout out to the homie EAZ. He used to be FX, or I mean, technically still is, but like, he was one of the first guys to mess with like the whole bevel-y thing out there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd like.
It's nice hearing like the origins of like, you know, this is a lot of people know all these things. Who hasn't seen a fucking beveled piece? But you're like, oh yeah, shout out to this dude. He's going to, you know.
Yeah, I mean, not to say he might not have been like the first, but
sure, but like one of the people that like, you know, really brought it into the forefront of like, oh shit, you can do that, you know. So I mean, that's that evolution of expansion. You know, maybe he saw it from something else, and then all of a sudden he did it, and then you saw it, and you're like, oh, bevel pieces, that's tight. Yeah. Let's try that, you know. And it's like it's kind of grown from there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, and you know, it's whatever too. Like at this point, like it's expected that you do something and, you know, someone across the pond is going to bite it and then they'll share it with somebody else who bites that and, you know, whatever, just got to keep pushing. And you know, at the end of the day, it's not really about them so much anyways, you know, as long as you keep pushing, you'll stumble across something that reinvents yourself in another direction.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, I have no problem, obviously, in my toy era, and I'm still a toy, but like, I mean, I have no problem, you know, in my early beginnings, because I was paying attention to all these things, I for sure bit a bunch of things, you know, and it helped me learn. Like the biggest thing that I always had a trouble was like hang-offs, you know, and after I started paying attention,
like doodads?
Yeah, like an arrow coming off of a specific spot, you know what I'm saying? Like, it became one of those things where eventually it was like, okay, I don't have an arrow just shooting in the middle of the leg of an M. It's like it's coming off of the flow of the sweep, and it gives it a more organic, fluid look, you know? So it's like, it took me that to like learn those hang-offs and shit like that and kind of bite off of this to eventually start paying attention to the science of where it was actually coming from. Why did that hang-off go there for this person, you know? And it helped me in turn learn better flow, better management, more cohesiveness for my shit.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah.
I have this ongoing joke with my homies, and I started like a little mini crew called Key Crew, killing every yard. Okay. You know, keep evolving yourself. You know, killing every yuppie, cruising every yacht.
Like acronyms.
Yeah. I'm, bro, don't get me started. Fuck, your girl swallows. You know what I'm saying? Up girl skirts. undergarment sniffers.
Yeesh. Get arrested for that shit.
Hey, not if they let you, bro. But yeah, no, I love acronyms. But yeah, me and my little crew that I started with my homies and shit. We have this constant joke where like, you know, we'll send each other pieces of like people that we're really inspired by, and then I'll just, you know, be like, oh, see that hang off? Definitely rocking that. You know, it's like a constant joke along with each other and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can't lie. Like, I'm sure I've had some.
I mean, you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Before you eventually get into, I think, who you become as a writer. And, you know,
Right.
like if you really are in this to get into graffiti for yourself, to push yourself, to really push the envelope, and you are your biggest enemy, then it's going to naturally flow out of you eventually, right? It's like, it's kind of like, you know, it takes 10,000 hours to master something. It's like, you need to put the time, you need to do the work,
Yep, definitely.
and the only way to do that is by constantly doing that. And if you have that passion and flow inside of you, eventually something original, maybe not original because it might be subconsciously somewhere out of someone, or someone did it before you, because now graffiti's been around for decades, but eventually you have enough knowledge that it'll flow out of you, right? And so I think, like, you know, if you kind of bite a couple things when you're first starting early out, if you don't have an OG to kind of take you under your wing, if you're a young kid and all you have is Instagram and tons of stimulus just constantly being thrown at you on a daily
Right.
basis, you know, over time, you know, years later, you can be like, oh, fucking, you know, this is kind of my flow, and I want to, you know, something will click in you, and you're like, this is what I want to rock, you know. And then you know, you do it enough times, and you get stagnant, and you get bored, and you want to, like, all right, now I need to do something where,
Change shit up.
yeah, you know. So it's like, you know, it's those things. It just kind of, it has to keep evolving, right? It
Yeah.
has to keep changing. So I mean,
And it's partially too, I guess, kind of like looping it to something I was starting to say earlier, but I kind of really went off topic.
my bad.
No, not your
I'm
fault.
totally that guy.
Was like having kids and like the limited amount of time to paint. It was like, okay, when I go out, I don't want to do the same letters,
Yeah.
right? Like if I do the same letters in different color schemes, I just wasted a day because like,
You're just a stamp licker.
yeah, I already, no, that's a different
No, I know.
term that we used to use. Yeah, no, you're
No,
just
I'm
a
talking
fucking
shit.
robot. Yeah.
I'm talking shit. You know, there's those, you know who you are.
Yeah.
The exact same sketch every single time.
No, I'm not.
I'm just talking
I'm
shit.
not bagging that either, because there's a lot of people that do that, and that's
No,
totally
for sure.
fine. Like, but for me, just being like a dad and like having a very limited time to paint, like
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
it was like I need to try to push in a different direction every time, whether it looks
I
like
mean, if
shit
you're-
or not. Like,
Yeah.
try something different.
I mean, if you're not pushing, why are you even out here?
Yeah, I guess you could say that too. That said, though, I mean, you know, if you're doing repetitive styles, that's fine too. That's your jam. Like, more power to you. Like, get that out there. I think there's room for everything in graffiti, right? Especially graffiti with the capital G. Like, I'm not, you know, I'm probably lowercase g. Like, like 33% of my work is probably illegal, right? So I can't, like, out of respect for graffiti, I'm not going to be like, I'm a graph writer. But there are people out there that are killing shit, and they can repeat their shit all day if they want to. Like, that's,
I think yeah. I mean, there's definitely a difference. If you're like, you know, I'm a family man, graffiti's still in my life, I have a career, I need to be obviously responsible and be about it, but I need to push myself, then yeah, it's kind of shitty if you're a stamp licker. But if you're a fucking goon,
right.
you know, and you really out here in these streets,
Yep.
then yeah, I'm not going to hate on you because you're fucking getting a sick ass piece in 3 minutes.
Right. Yeah,
I got 4
exactly.
hours in a tunnel. You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like, it's
I'm
just
trying new shit.
yeah, it's a different vibe. So no,
Yeah.
I'm not hating on anyone that's like a hardcore bomber. It's the same straight letter. Yeah, but they're fucking murdering the U.S. They're
Right.
killing streets. They're fucking badass. I'm not hating on that at all.
Right.
I'm just saying that, like, if you're a lurker, you're in a tunnel, you're in there for 6 hours, you brought a lunch,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
rocking the same fucking lines, dog. Now I'm gonna hate a little bit.
You call it a stamp licker. We used to call stamp lickers the people that sends their flicks into magazines,
Oh,
which is a funny thing.
that's a different term right there, because, you know, that's very that analog style.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, you know, it's stamp licker. You're just constantly licking the same stamp over, you know, mailing.
The crazy thing is, like, that was like derogatory, right? Like, it's like
Ooh.
me sending, if I were to send, I never did this myself, but like if you were to send a flick to a magazine to get printed, like
Oh, so that your piece would be in the magazine rather than your shit showing up. Fucking stamp liquor.
exactly, that was, it was a derogatory thing. But then
okay.
like now you look at like Instagram and like that's all we do.
Yeah, we just
Like,
post our own shit
We
every
post
day
our
of the
own
week.
shit. Like we dry snitch all day.
Yeah, all day.
All day.
100%. Absolutely. I mean, I'm over here on a nationally distributed podcast that's, through a distribution company that's fucking, I
Right.
paid with my bank account. And I'm over here like, yeah, what's your name? Follow me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I didn't hear me talking shit about Steiner. He's rapping in front of his pieces with his face fucking fully blasted. I'm like, you know what, man? No one's looking for fucking Myan. That's totally all right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
Cops
not
will
out
laugh
there
at
like
me
that.
for the amount of shit that they have to deal with on a daily basis.
Right. Right.
You're in here for what?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny as fuck. Yeah, that's definitely different because, another thing is graffiti. At least you're obviously into it way earlier than me, but like it was a much tougher sport. At least for me in growing up around graffiti in like the early 2000s, and and it's not like I was hardcore involved in the graffiti scene. Once again, I was introduced to it until like 2003, and I was hanging around graffiti writers, but I didn't really actually start paying myself till way later. But even then, it was like I was around these graffiti writers, and these guys were tough dudes, and they were talking shit. And if you went over someone, you had to fucking steal someone's paint. You had to beat the shit out of each other. So that authenticity was like really much there. So there's like, if you're just a fake ass fool stamp licking, sending your fucking thing so that you get notoriety versus like the street sees it,
Right.
Because you're not out there putting enough work, then it's a whole different vibe. What it was back then to what it is now. Now it's like everyone submits their shit. People constantly send me fucking DMs like, "Hey, you want to repost my shit?" Like, no. If you're up in the streets and I see you and I take a flick, it's gonna be uploaded to my Flickr, and if it's dope as fuck, I'm gonna post on Bayer Graffiti. But if you're just gonna DM me and be like, "Hey, repost my shit," I'm like, eat my ass.
Yeah. I mean, that's how people, it's like a game. Like, it's not even real fame. Like, it's like this weird game. I think someone posted something the other day. Funny, someone posted this.
Yeah.
It said, like, I'm not something about, like, I'm not Instagram famous, but I'm known in the hood. Something like that. I was like, that's like,
That's tight.
that's what counts, right? That's like doing something in a place where the younger generation can see and get inspired, like be able to go up next to it, like that's what counts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus like some Instagram fame shit that like someone's gonna swipe over in 2 seconds from there.
Yeah.
Like you got to put it in places where it ain't right. It can't.
No, I think when it's legit and it's like I see you up, it's like I have so much more respect for those people.
Right.
And like if I meet you in the streets because you really out here, then that's fucking dope. It's like that genuinity. Yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, I can see you post all day, but like one of the reasons why I wanted to do a podcast with Elab is like I bumped into him in a tunnel. I was painting with my homie Sopa. We're getting it, and all of a sudden we see these two fools hop in a tunnel. Hey, what do you write? Oh, Elab and Melsky. Like, oh shit, I've seen your shit up like crazy, but you're actually out here lurking. I catch you today.
Yeah.
It's like, and then when I had the idea to do the podcast, I'm like, yo, Elab, I love you on the podcast, man. It's so sick bumping into, so it's like, dude. I get what you're saying. The difference between like seeing his shit all day is kind of like, I mean, I love looking at Elab's pieces, but I'm just saying like, you scroll through it and you see other people post, and you have all these like Instagram flickers. That's another thing too. It's like, it's like, all right, whatever. But it's like, I actually see you. Like every time I go out and lurk, you got a spot at this spot.
Yep.
So you're doing numbers.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy how like popular the tunnel game is nowadays that you actually run into someone in the tunnel.
Oh, dude, I fucking I just told the story to someone the other day, but I went to a tunnel in well, I'm not gonna say where it's at, but I was just thinking about that.
Where'd you go?
I can beep it out, but I mean I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But it was me, Jammer, Odom, Griffo, right? This is like back in the day, and we're painting. It's been like 45 minutes. We're painting and shit. I'm kind of fishing. I've always, dude, it sucks.
Fishing?
Finishing, sorry.
Oh. I was like, you're fishing in
nah. Remember, I'm an ESL kid, man.
Okay, all right.
I actually learned English through fucking Sesame Street as a kid because my first language was Spanish. So I mean, I get stuck on some shit from time to time.
Okay.
anyways, yeah. So we're painting, and I'm like 45 minutes in. I'm finishing up, and I hear something up. Excuse me, I'm like choking. I hear something off in the distance. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And Jeremy goes, oh, there's some people painting in here. I heard them like 10 minutes into after we came in. And I was like, why didn't you say anything? What the fuck? I was like, fuck that. And I was like, yo, Odom, let's go fucking check these fools. Let's see what's up, you know? And we run over and shit. Bro, we go, and I mean, it's a tunnel, dude. We're
Like
sitting
20 people there.
No. It was just 2 guys, but like we're sitting there with like just tiny little headlamps, you know, our cell phone cameras, you know, our cell phone lights and shit, you know, maybe an LED bar between the 4 of us.
Okay.
You know, we're concentrating on trying to get real lights. We show up, I mean, full on studio lights. I mean, it is daytime on their section of the tunnel because it has a bit of a bend, so their light didn't come around. I didn't see it. And it's a long enough tunnel that we were far away, so we walked like good 10 minutes
They
away.
had like a
dude,
little
no, it's
battery
like
pack and
dude, it's like a full on like Milwaukee battery, like
Yeah.
it's a full studio light. I mean, it's
Word.
clear as day. They don't need no fucking headlamps. And I'm
It's all
like,
rookies.
no, dude, it was fucking Keb.
They're calling you rookies.
Yeah,
you guys
exactly.
are
No,
all-
we're the rookies for sure.
Yeah.
Kev ICP,
Tight.
and MC. I don't know if MC's a part of any crews, but like, yeah,
That's dope.
MC's like a Frisco kid. I just talked to him the other day, actually. Shout out MC. But he's a light engineer. He does like crazy, you know, like he does like sick ass light displays
Yeah.
for like EDM, like, you know, real. I mean, he's a real professional.
Yeah.
So he brought a couple of those studio lights down into the tunnel.
That's what I'm saying. Looking at you guys like rookies.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Look at
guys
these
doing-
pussies over here with their little.
little flashlights.
Yeah, you guys rack those from Big 5 Sporting Goods, you bunch of bitches. And I was like, oh shit, you know, Kev ICP, I'm a big fan, you know. But it was like, you know, I instantly ever since then, you know, me and Kev, you know, he shows me love on my Instagram every once in a while. He's like, yeah, that piece is sick, and I'm like, damn, that's tight, you know. And it's like, he probably has a little bit more respect because he caught me in the yard, you know, versus like, oh, you know, if you just fly by.
That's where we're going with that.
Yeah,
story.
yeah. If you fly by a Myan on Instagram, you're like, who the fuck is this toy, you know? But you're like, no, that fool's out here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
so it's that
yeah.
authenticity is a little
Exactly.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the word I was thinking about, actually. Authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy you say tunnels. It reminds, this is totally off topic. This is my, what'd you call it? Your
ADHD?
ADHD, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In the Judah tunnels, I remember back in the day, if you turn your head sideways, you can hear the trains coming from either direction, like outside of the tunnel. So you would know which alcove side to hide in. So like,
Oh, sick.
because like, man, we were running there and like we were like, my kid. I'm getting that bullet in my throat too. That kid, my kid is.
You want more water?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
got you. You can go ahead. Keep.
So my oldest kid is 16 now, and I think I was probably like, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 when we used to go in the Judah tunnels in the daytime, and the homie Knock knew everything about it, right? He's from the city. Yeah, that's fine. So Knock used to bring us into the tunnels, and like he would know the way, right? He would know like, okay, you turn your head sideways, you can hear something coming from like the bow side, you know, you hear the rumbling. If it's coming from that side, you hop up in the side next to the train so that when the train passes by, they don't see you on the opposite end, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So like, yeah, I don't know. You just reminded me of that when you're talking about like hearing people in the tunnel, like all in the distance, because like those tunnels, you know, that they got a pretty good echo, and yeah, acoustics is pretty.
Yeah,
dope
that's
for
funny you say that because like I've been in hella freight yards where you can hear the rattling of the rails, you know, that like kind of high pitch. You know, it's almost like a penny skeeting off on like metal sheets and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you're like, oh fuck, it's coming from here and shit, you know, let's hide. So I definitely know what you're talking about. Or like we would hide our feet behind the wheels so that way no one could like see past the cart. You know?
Yeah. The Amtraks sound different too, right? The faster cars sound different.
Oh yeah.
And then you kind of learn like when you're in the yard enough, you know, like which is like the active line.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Which one's the storage yard or the storage line, you know, which one's the
Exactly.
fucking 15-minute breaker.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that, you know, it's going back to like that yard that we were talking about in like, you know, Southern California and shit that I'd go hit because there was the 3 lines. There's the active one where it's just, they're passing through fucking super quick. Make sure to stay off that line.
Yep.
And then there's, the storage line where we're obviously hitting our cars for the day, and they're probably going to be there for the next 3 months. Hopefully someone doesn't go over before they get transferred out. There was the one line that, once again, shout out to Preach and Peas, but they'd like, make sure you bring some white and blacks for throws. And I was like, what? And I'm like, all right, throwies on trains, sure. But it was because of that line. It would be the piss line, is what they called it. And
It
so
just kind of rolled through.
No, they would pull up and then it would park for 15 minutes. And then it would take off. And it was almost like the conductor was going to take a piss in the station and shit. And then he would fucking hop in and then, all right, off to this thing.
Yeah.
So he'd be like, hey, it's up. And then for 15 minutes, we'd just catch like 2-3 throws, some real fill-ins.
Makes sense.
And then he would just take off. I'm like, dude, I got some throwies running somewhere. No one's going to flick a throwie, obviously, on freight. But, like, you never know. I might get it,
Yeah, no.
Years from now, I'd be shocked.
You never know. You never know. But if it was black and white, it might fade really quick.
Yeah. Well, no, Resto Gloss every day of the week.
Might fade pretty quick.
You think so? Resto Gloss?
I
was always told Resto Gloss is the best shit you want to hit freight with because that's what'll hold versus matte.
For my first, that shit fades quick though. Stuff sits out in the field.
Well, yeah, that in general. Obviously, this shit parks in fucking Arizona and like 120 degrees.
Exactly.
Baking in the sun, yeah.
You can get lucky. I mean, whatever. Every paint has its colors, right? But like, I used to use Rusto strictly, Rusto and Krylon strictly for like my whole like freight, like the early freight part of my career or whatever until I had my first kid. A lot of those trains faded like pretty bad. And there's certain colors like berry pink or whatever that would fade like 2 days.
Almost immediately.
Yeah.
Going back to that Reefer Madness, sorry, I'm just gonna but that Gento and Zine, he did a yellow fill with I think kind of like a maroonish outline if I'm not mistaken, and a pink 3D.
Okay.
And that pink was gone. It was just a red outline, and the yellow was damn near disappeared. That it was like the yellow of the cart, so it almost looked like a hollow.
Yeah,
but I knew it was obviously Zine. So yeah, it's funny seeing that shit like 20 years later. It's like this shit's deteriorated.
I mean, and like it sucks. I mean, now that I'm older, I have that recollection of like what paint sucked and like what colors were really bad on the Rusto side. But like, it took me a while to start to trust like using European paint on trains, but so far so good.
Really,
a lot of those cars are lasting pretty decently.
Yeah. Do you remember? Brands. Yeah, I was gonna say, do you remember the Iron Lac days, the early Iron Lac days when like you would do something and within like 3 months that shit was like you did a pink outline and it was a white outline in 3 months.
Actually, that's funny. When Iron Lac was really catching steam, that was when I was like hardcore on the dad situation, right? Like my kids were a lot younger, so I wasn't painting nearly as much. So like I kind of got lucky when I started to get a little freer and coming back into the scene. It some of the truths about like what brands were lasting was already kind of out there for me.
So it was already ironed out before you were like really getting in there. Yeah.
And I always knew certain brands like certain brands definitely take more care in.
You never got to fuck with the fresh paint or the colors?
I fucked with some. I mean, I fucked with all the paint before.
Yeah.
But I always was very conscious of like, if I paint something that needs to have longevity, I'm not going to use the shitty paint.
Yeah, I just loved. You remember the color line?
Color line.
It was a so like a standard can is what, 12 ounce?
Yeah.
Okay, so these were 8-ounce cans.
Okay.
Low pressure, and they were only like $2.
Okay.
So it was made by Iron Lac. Yeah, so it was like a $2 Iron
It was like
Lac.
white and
exactly.
Like,
it just had just
blue
literally
triangle or something.
Exactly.
Like
yeah. Dude, I love those things. $2 highlights every day of the week. Like
I think every paint brand has its place. Like I'm not gonna down anybody. Like like I said, like there's things that we do that we know it's not gonna last.
Yeah.
So it's like, use whatever the fuck you got. But like
exactly. Like you go to Merit Wall.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even go to Merit Wall.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, for what you do, it's not worth it. But
the fact
like
that we can talk about that spot, like there's garbage cans there and stuff. I think it's
exactly
legal. But yeah, I mean, I'm not actually. I shouldn't down.
I'm doing a quick color piece there.
I remember Merit Wall when there was a Dream piece on there.
Wow.
I walked up on a Dream. I don't know if it was like a piece. I think it was like a black and white, kind of stylistic, throwy.
Yeah.
The walls were still pretty virgin, and there was like a lot of bushes. And then I think I went back there like a few years later or something, and all the bushes were cut. Unfortunately, the dream piece was gone. And then that place just started cycling over and over. So yeah, I don't want to down that spot. Again, every place has its
Great practice spot. I mean,
yeah.
before I knew about Merritt Wall, my practice spot, which sucks because I had to always drive an hour out, but I won't say where it's at. It's an hour out from here, but
Okay.
it's at I'll tell you obviously after and shit. I won't because
I'm taking notes here. There's a few things you gotta tell me after this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because the thing is that like the Lords run it, and I'm friends with a lot of the Lords, and I have a lot of respect for up there, and it's. I mean, if you know, you know.
Okay.
But if you don't, I'm not gonna like put it out there. But it's a legal wall, and you
Right.
can just pull up and paint. And it's
Gotcha.
behind this building, and it's just like so. When I didn't want to be that guy, hella toy, wanting to paint next to Ches in the tunnel, I'd drive an hour up north to like go practice at like a wall where I knew I was gonna get gone over. And
Wait,
that's
the tunnels not have enough space?
no, for sure. But I'm just saying that like, I'm not painting necessarily directly to Ches, but I'm just saying like I'm in a tunnel.
yeah.
I'm in a tunnel with
Side
Ches. You know?
question?
No. Never,
Gotcha.
never that. I mean, unless there's a toy that I know I can burn, and they went next to Ches, then for sure I'm gonna be next to Ches. But I always felt to myself like until, it's like you work hard. I mean, at least for me, nowadays people are like, "Oh, DM me the pin," and then that's
Right.
fucking whack too. But it's like, fuck, dude, like, I remember fucking almost getting into accidents because my head was fucking snapping back and forth looking
to
at
find
every
one.
tiny little fucking bush. I'm like, that kind of looks like a creek system. Like, maybe I should go pull over on the side of the freeway, and before you know it, I'm like, yeah, and like,
Huh.
dude, I found some gems, just like, I fucking shout out to Torch. He put me onto this one tunnel. It's like there's a Sybil from '99.
Wow.
Still running to this day and shit. I'm not gonna say where it's at, obviously, but like, Torch is a fucking lurker. That dude's I got mad respect for. He's put me onto some tunnels and shit. And we go back and forth. I've given some, this and that, but it's like you go into these spots and it's like, it's not easy to find. And sometimes, it's like, yeah, okay, once you're in the spot, you're straight. But like when, getting into the spot, some of them are dicey and shit. And I'm
Right.
like, am I really going to be that dude to like have a fucking shitty piece in this spot when there's so many dope people are in this fucking tunnel? It's like it's a slap in the face in a way. And, you got to give a respect to the yard. So yeah, I would go up, an hour out and go paint this spot. And, of course I got gone over, but that spot helped me get better at can control and
Right.
getting that muscle memory, learning how to outline better, trying shitty tricks that I fucking racked from someone off of Reefer Madness.
You're the guy.
Yeah. So I mean, Merritt,
Yeah.
a lot of people hate on Merritt. It's like, I go to Merritt every once in a while just to take pictures and shit. And man, I just painted that spot 2 hours ago. This fool already went over me, and I'm like, yeah, it's
the
Merritt,
Venice.
man. You fucking go there with fucking, oops paint for your fill. Don't go there with fucking,
Yeah, quick color.
7 colors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's definitely a chrome spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Chrome with maybe some colorful
Yeah.
shit behind it or something.
Just a little on the
Yeah.
3D.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Yep.
Fucking chrome fill, black outline, white highlights, red background.
Yeah, that works.
Spray a little blue in the
A
3D
little oops paint.
and call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe a little character.
Maybe. That might be too much.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's if the old head doesn't want to do anything risky and they're visiting from out of town, then you'll do the little production so they get the nice shot because no one outside of the Bay Area knows that it's Merritt.
Right.
And they'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, check out this cigar spot that I was.
Yeah. It's definitely the.
I mean, it's a beautiful location,
It's
you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, Merritt's tight.
There's a lot of nice locations, though. I feel like I think we're blessed with that. Probably a lot of other cities have that too, where it's like, you'll find some nice little spots off the hiking trail.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
not necessarily a tunnel, but
Right.
maybe like a little block or something.
a retaining wall so that the hill doesn't crumble or some shit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays they're pretty much all burnt, but
Yeah.
you go to like fucking San Francisco and some of those old bunkers and shit like that. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, those are way burnt. Yeah.
yeah, they're super burnt. But it's those things are nice. It's more for the feel, the vibe, the aesthetic. You're like, yeah, I'm out here fucking just having fun.
Yeah.
Catch a throwy.
Yeah.
Someone will see it and then they'll get gone over.
Yeah. Yeah, or buffed by the ranger.
Actually, didn't you send me a throwy?
Oh, yours.
Yeah. Was that
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the
I'm
Booker.
shocked that's still running.
How long would you do that?
Like, I mean, definitely last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
Damn,
been.
I need to side bust you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Huh.
No, it's been a minute because shout out my nephew again. I always bring him up. I love that kid. He's basically my son. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna have her have kids. I don't think so. And you know, my pullout game's so good.
Precision.
Nah, bro. Yeah, yeah, for sure. You know, the trick is, you know, don't edge too close. No, yeah, I just, you know, that's my whole personal thing. I mean, we don't even have to get into that. But like, you know, my nephew's, you know, someone that like, you know, I really enjoy spending time with him. It's like, you know, I didn't have that OG, you know. And I want to break the cycle on that. And that's another thing why I always bring up on the podcast, you know, like any advice to give to the youth and this and that, because unfortunately the youth doesn't have a lot of guidance in certain things.
Yeah.
You know, I do give huge credit to Gen Z, and I feel like they're really pushing the envelope in political things and, you know, mental health awareness. And that's really exciting. But specifically for this graffiti podcast, in graffiti, I feel like there's not really, you know, that mentor aspect. So I really like bringing advice. And so with my nephew, you know, he really wants to piece, and I hang out with him a lot. You know, we go piecing damn near every other week. And
How old is he?
huh?
How old is he?
16.
Okay.
Yeah, he got popped like last year.
For Graph?
Yeah, he's catching a roof shot over by his dad's bar. Fucking idiot.
Where? What neighborhood are you talking about?
It's in the
SF?
East Bay.
Okay.
It's in the East Bay. Yeah, in not like the hood. So he's like doing it in a spot you shouldn't be.
You go SF.
You know what's funny is he listens to this podcast and all his homies do, and everyone knows who he is, who I'm talking about right now. So they're all gonna talk shit to him in high school.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm like destroying his life right now, and I'm actually enjoying this a little bit. You got to get hazed a little bit, I think. But anyways, yeah, he got popped, and says mom was kind of like, hey, you know, can you show him the kind of the ropes, and you know, doesn't get in trouble and shit. And I'm like,
can you show him how to like not get caught?
well,
that
I
what
think
she was asking?
I think she was more like, hey, I can tell my son's really into graffiti.
And I can't stop
Because-
this. And like,
You know what it was is that years ago I was hanging out with her and he came along, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm in the East. I'm gonna go paint a spot real quick before I hang out with you guys. And she was like, no, we'll go with you. And I was like, what? You're gonna bring your kid to go paint a spot with me? And I was like, fuck it, let's go. And so I brought my cousin and my nephew to the spot, and then I was like, all right, kid, here's a fucking can. Go fill in my sketch.
wow.
And I think I kind of fucked up and sparked that inside of him, because he
little
was like, "This is
inception.
fun." Yeah. So yeah, he's been getting it, and he's actually killing the streets. He's still bombing like a fucking asshole.
Tight.
But I mean, he's young enough; he can do it. You know, just
That's
don't be
where
stupid
you
about it. You
Get your
know.
can control.
Yeah, fuck yeah. No, he's getting it, man. I fucking drive around, you know, Oakland, and I'm like, okay, I see you. He's got a couple billboards. I'm like, all
Nice.
right,
Okay.
kids climbing. My fat ass can't do that, you know. So I mean, I definitely give him credit. I was going with somewhere with this.
The youth, something about the youth.
Yeah, we were talking about the youth and then bringing him around. And,
Yeah.
fucking went on a tangent. Dude, I'm telling you, my ADHD. There was reason why I brought this around.
That
Oh.
medication alert just went off earlier, right? Your little medication alert.
Oh, I already took that. We're good.
Ain't working.
God damn it, this is gonna bother me. I always feel bad for the people that are listening to this, because sometimes people are like, "Oh yeah, you were talking about this. You went off a tangent. I wish you would have finished that thought." I am
Right.
so sorry. My brain just doesn't work like that. I was dropped as a baby. You know, it is what it is. Too many drugs as a kid. Yeah, I don't know. We'll finish it off with basically my point is I always try to, like, you know, bring something to the kids and shit. And so I've been trying to bring my nephew around, and that's why I give him like the love on like the 3D and how to do highlights and this and that, and like, you know, rock shit like that.
Right.
I'm gonna listen to this later on when I'm editing and be like, that's what I was fucking talking about. That's all right. If anyone wants to DM me about some question that I never finished, please, by all means.
We'll answer it in the comments.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting talking about like mentorship, right? Like, for me, and I you know, like now after meeting like older writers and asking them about like, you know, how they got inspired or whatever. It's like each generation had like a little bit more to go off, right? Like you know, the like the spy generation. I think there was a TV show called shit, I forgot the name. That's gonna bug me. I'm gonna remember when I get home. But anyways, it happened in the 70s, and in the intro of the TV show, they had a New York City train that passed by, and there was a peanut piece on it, and it was like stuff like that was like what that generation had.
Wow, that was like the
Like-
thing that was like, oh, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, and like then Star Wars came out, and it was like, oh shit, PBS Star Wars, watch this shit. But then like for me, like it was a little bit more media out there, but still like didn't have a mentor. And I think you were I think that's triggered what my thought here, because you were talking about like people that don't have mentors. You know, like I really cherish like those magazine interviews. It was kind of crazy, as cheesy as it sounds. Like when there was something in a magazine that someone was like, "Oh yeah, this is how I went painting. And this is like why I painted and whatever. Like how my approach to style or whatever."
Yeah.
That kind of stuff was like, I don't know. I felt like that, like just how you talk about like reefer madness. Like that was like my reefer madness, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, and I mean that was the bringing that intimacy into play, right? Because we just see the graffiti pieces all day. You don't know what happened behind it, what it took to get to that journey, you know. And you know, I've said this again in podcasts, but you know, it's like that's why this was always like I want to do this, because I want to hear your story, you know, and I want to hear what you did and how you look at things. And you know, it was even when we were getting a little nerdy on the science of 3D and shadowing, you know, that's you know how you think. And now people that listen to this will look at your pieces and appreciate them more, because like, yo, yeah, Lost was talking about da, 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 da. You know, I see what he's talking about now, that shit's sick, you know. And they're gonna bite it off you, and you're gonna see it in their pieces the next week. But the point is that, you know, it's like, you know, yeah, it's definitely those things that, you know, that's what like triggers in your head, and it's like a, you know, that milestone of like, oh shit, you know, that's what how that works. You know,
like little things you don't remember, like right, like you know, like the little things that really like helped you along in your journey. It might be super like insignificant to most people, but like it was like an eye-opening thing for you, and like those types of things you never forget, you know.
Yeah, exactly. No, I know totally what you're talking about. Yeah, it's fucking tight.
Yeah.
I want to get into the user submitted questions. There's not that many, but I still wanted to talk about them. Truk is his name, or Took.
Oh, Took. Yeah.
Took. Sorry, I mispronounced that. Took. I saw that because I saw that you painted with him.
Yeah.
And then he,
it's the homie.
and then he submitted a question. And he says, "Do you know how to use chopsticks?"
Motherfucker.
Inside joke.
I am well versed in the chopstick world.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know how to use chopsticks? That's exactly what he said. Amuse 126 says, "What is included in your point of view as true style writing?" It's a great question. As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Damn, that's a banger."
Question. Can you repeat the question?
You want me to? Yeah. Sorry, let me unlock my iPad.
Yeah, maybe that
what is included in your point of view as true style writing?
Ooh, man. True style writing. Dude, that's a really good question. I think...
What is Lost DE Fly.ID's point of view when it comes to the essence of true style writing?
Essence of true style writing. That's even...
Yeah, I'm just... Yeah. I'm like,
question.
you know, I gotta elaborate and sop it up a little bit, you know?
I think that there is no, like, essence, right? Like, that's, like, if you were to put... If I were to describe something, then that kind of isolates a certain approach. And the beauty of like style writing nowadays is all the crazy different approaches, right? Like going back to Europe, like there's some people that are killing it in Europe and like in Mexico, you know?
Yeah.
And in different ways, you know, like, you know, the homie Modic is out there. He's doing some pretty crazy like shit, but it's like, it's not like, he's not like going hella like all like fades everywhere necessarily. It's like these just really good like can control tricks that he pulls off, and really good use of color. This is the homie Rims. You know, he's doing some crazy abstract stuff. Amuse 126 himself is on some next level stuff, right? So
Yeah, his big chrome pieces.
yeah,
Those are always so cool to see.
and that's like just one side, like his colorful stuff, his approach to painting,
His tags are
his
hard.
hands are
Yeah, his
good. I
hands are hard
mean,
as fuck. I'll give
like,
you that, Muse.
There's just like, I mean, yeah, he's multidimensional, but
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to put like a description around style writing, then you would already be wrong, right? Like,
Damn. Thinking outside the box here.
I mean, but like,
This is like some.
it's a good question because like I was talking to Freedom, Chris Pape once, a long time ago, and he was telling me that something like everything in graffiti was done like by 72. Like there was rollers were used, so like people were experimenting with 3D pieces. Phase 2 was already doing his like softy, so everything else was an iteration on top of that. And to some extent, I think that's right. Right?
Damn. Okay.
But also like but not really at the same time. I don't know.
Interesting.
It's hard,
Yeah.
like because that set everything off, right? And I think everything is an iteration of that. But like
Yeah.
those, like the way that those got experimented, like the building blocks of like a 3D, like a letter filled in and a 3D off of it, like went in so many different directions since then.
Right.
It got into like realism 3D, like dime realism, right? Lumit was doing some shit
Yeah.
that was pretty crazy, abstracty realism, letter form. And then you have people still pushing like that, iterating on that, like that essential New York style. I mean, I if anything, you can kind of put like high level descriptions around some of the different facets of style writing, but like if you were to try to, I don't know. I don't think it's possible, and that's the beauty of it, right? Like if like that's why it grows. That's why we compete against each other to like, I mean, it's like unspoken competition that you're just trying to like burn everybody, right? Like that's and that's like a healthy thing. And maybe that's just the American bullshit that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like it's a damn good question, but I can't really answer it, I guess.
Stumped.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's fresh. We can go on to the next question. Shout out to homie Gezer. He says, tags, throws, or straights?
Me personally, like what I like or what I do, or
That's
a good question.
both.
I like to see all that.
Yeah.
Like everything has like levels of beauty, right? Me personally, I don't know. That's a good question too. My hands,
What do you personally like to do?
my hands suck. I wish they didn't, but my hands suck. I like to. I mean, obviously, straights is something that I dabble in the most, but I like throwies. Like I fucks with throwies a lot, like in my books. But like since I'm always paying it to people that are piecing, I can't do it.
You can't really do throwies as often, yeah.
Yeah.
Throwies is hard, man. It's taking me fucking a long, and I don't think my throw is great at all, but like it's taking me a long time to get to my throw where I'm like, all right, I'm happy with this because I've done some terrible.
We all. I mean,
yeah.
every day I do bullshit. You just gotta get it out of your system. And
Right.
Try to find a good sketch.
Yeah, it feels good to do a throwy though.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I had a little extra, back in the day, we used to just, if you're extra paint on freights, you would just do fucking throws,
Yeah.
So you just make sure you have a few different styles you're playing with, and then you can experiment when you go out.
So out of the three, you'd pick throw?
It's in between throwies and straights for sure.
Throwies and straights? Yeah. Straights are hard too. I mean, to get a real straight foundation, just iconic, nice letter, if you don't have it in the right band or in a certain way, it looks like shit.
I think that's something that, like, also after having a kid put perspective into me, like, talking about like having like recognition, a recognizable style. I was again more interested in diversity. Like, I didn't care if you didn't recognize my style from one piece to another. It was kind of like I didn't really. became a lot more personal to me. It was like, I don't care even if it gets like 0 likes. I want to do something different.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
like
trying something.
trying something different, like,
Yeah.
and not just to try, but like actually really like thinking about like, oh, I think this might work, and then oh, it didn't work, but like, you know, it's important to
But you
put that
did
out
it.
there. Yeah,
And later in the future, you might steal one tiny thing and use that on the
Exactly.
next one, and that's only going to make your piece that much better.
100%. That's
Yeah.
exactly like why I do that, because I
Yeah.
feel like I can get the bullshit out, and then one piece out of 5 is gonna be good, maybe, you know.
Yeah. No, fuck it. Yeah. I mean, the last couple things that I put out are shit, but there's a couple things that I was like, I like that. I'm going to steal this little, you know?
As long as you're different, you're gonna get to a point that like you said, you're like, oh shit, my shit's like something else, right? It's my own direction.
Yeah. And then the other thing's Geoff. Gufrodo. I think but it's Geoff, but all right, Jeff. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but sorry, dude. Influences outside of graph.
Ooh, damn, that's a good question. So, man, well, I guess I kind of like touched upon some of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
Trump Loy. When it comes to productions, for whatever reason, I always kind of draw myself into that. Typography was something big. You know, I got lucky. My first job was in typography. I was an intern designer designing for designers.
Have you ever made your own font?
I never did, but back in the day, there was a company called Hand Selecta that I was talking to, Christian Acker. He was working on fonts for graph writers.
That's sick.
And one of the dopest ones, I think, was Giant did one, Giant BA, and Joker BA did one. It was sick.
I wonder if we can find those.
You probably can. It's probably somewhere online. I think since he's done a few other fonts, I don't remember. Yeah, typography. There's this guy. I'm probably gonna say his name wrong. Alex True.
Okay.
I don't know. He actually did a few, like he did like an Urban Decay cover, which was a magazine that was like
Okay.
kind of hip hop.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it had a little bit of graph in it. But went on to do some really cool shit typographically. At some point, there was a graphic design group called, I think it was Non-Format, that was doing some interesting shit out of Europe. Again, a lot of European
Typography
influences.
group.
Oh, not typography group. They were a design group that
A
was
design group.
messing around with. Then I wouldn't even say type, it was like lettering.
It's like a graphic design crew.
Yeah, House obviously, and they're like they make fonts, but they also do hand lettering. Like Ken Barber is a really sick, hand lettering artist. Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, and then going to like the Trump Loy stuff. Tony, I'm probably gonna say his name wrong. I'm sorry. Tony Carnage, I believe is how you say his name. There used to be a gallery out in SF called, and Ches put me up on this, I think it was called the John Pence Gallery. And they used to carry all like photorealism painting.
Okay.
And Sub had a show there once.
Okay.
So, like Sater and I showed up like, oh dude. Like probably like the only like weird graph writer guys
Yeah,
that was like
yeah,
in
yeah.
suits. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, you're a legend. Yeah, that was dope to meet him there. But yeah, like that stuff was really inspiring. Just like the way that they would like play around with just like backgrounds and shit, right?
Yeah.
Other influences. Let's see. That's a good question, man. Yeah, I would say just like it's like the related like typography, lettering artist type of people. Like a lot of stuff that I was exposed to when I was kind of deeper into that world of typography.
That's what's up. Yeah. Fuck yeah. And sign painting, obviously.
Sign painting for sure. I mean, yeah, I mean that's part of it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely the letterheads.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that there was a guy. I think his name was John Downer, out of the Pacific Northwest, and I was talking to him at one of the conferences. And he was telling me that he had this project in Las Vegas, and he did like all the signage for like one of the hotels.
Sick.
And it was like, damn, that's a dope ass job.
Yeah.
You know, and it was very related to graph, and I guess maybe more related to like what I do now on the side, like the mural stuff that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of my favorite sign painters are graffiti writers.
Yeah.
And you can see, it's really cool seeing the aesthetic of traditional sign painting, like really keeping it true to what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, you can see a slight seasoning
Right.
of graffiti flavor, and you're just like, fuck.
By the way, talking about sign painters and typographers and lettering artists, I was in New York. It was '05, I believe. And I was at a typography conference. My company was helping throw it. And the keynote speaker was this guy named Ed Bengit. He passed away, rest in peace. He was a legendary lettering artist. And I remember like after the show, I had a little talk on graffiti. And after the show, some kid came up to me. He's probably my age. And he was just like really just kind of being a dick. It's like, well, why do you do graffiti? It doesn't make any sense, blah, blah, blah. And Ed came by and he was like,
shut the fuck up,
basically,
bitch.
he was like, yeah, basically said that. And he was like, I guess he said something about like there was a battle one time in New York. It was like an official thing where like they hired maybe Ed and somebody else to battle graffiti writers on a train. Like they did their shit and then the graph writers did something else. And he said like they got blown away by the graph writers.
Wait, so
like a master lettering artist, typographer, like
battling against a graffiti writer,
lettering dude, yeah.
But it was like they were paid to paint on a train.
Something like that, yeah.
Wow, that's fucking sick, dude. I'd love to see sign painting on a fucking train.
Yeah,
I mean, bet I'm about to pull out the oil enamels and bring my quills and go to the freight yard. I gotta go to one of those cutty freight yards where I can spend my time, dude. Fucking, that's the only thing that sucks. Oil enamel takes fucking hours for it to dry. Like.
Eesh.
Like this sign that I just did for Lane Split, really sick ass motorcycle crew out in San Jose, Lane Split Boulevard. Check them out. I did the white letters yesterday, and I just did the little like kind of mint. It's kind of hard to see from far away, but there's like a mint inlay inside of the letters, and I had to do that today. Because it's like oil enamel literally takes 24 hours for it to dry,
right.
So it's like every single layer. So to really go in on a freight, I'd have to hit it multiple days, It would be, that's kind of hard. But
I don't know if they were using sign painter tools, but it was like art versus art, right? It was like that style versus the graph style.
Still would be sick to see some traditional sign painting on freight.
Yeah.
You'd have to do it hella high, though, where no one was going to do a throwy over it.
Yeah. We'll do that with spray.
Do it on the ladder.
Do like the casual style letter, but like
with spray paint. Yeah. I've been wanting to
people that do that already.
Yeah, I've seen it time and time again. But yeah, definitely sign paintings for me is a huge influence. I spend hours looking at it. And yeah, like I said, some of my favorite sign painters are also, graffiti writers. It's crazy finding out some of the ex-graffiti writers that haven't painted in a long time, and then later on.
Painters.
Yeah.
I'll say this too, actually. Someone I forgot about that's a big influence is this guy, Rick Griffin, who was not a sign painter, but he was he was more known, he was a cartoonist / poster artist. He was more known for his poster art in the 70s. He was one of like the biggest poster artists at the time for like the psychedelic era.
Okay.
And his letters, you should look him up, Rick Griffin. Oh man, like his stuff was pretty much graph. Like he would do 3Ds, he would do the style, kind of hints at what I do today, like that style we were talking about earlier. In his own, he approached it in a different way, color wise. But his shit was next level. I think, and don't quote me on this, but like in some interview, he might have said that he was looking at graffiti and got inspired by some of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
and
sick.
He did comics too, like Zap Comics, which had some really good artists in there too.
That's tight.
Comic books in general too was a big inspiration. Like I used to be really into the original Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah.
Like back in the day when comics were big, like McFarlane and them.
Yeah.
I got into.
Which shit was darker.
Yeah, it was black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just meant like the stories.
Oh, that too.
I feel like it's been a little muddled now, but like going to some of those originals, even fuck, I have conversations the other day all the time. But the original Ninja Turtles, the first movie, when like Shredder's been kidnapped, fucking they're over at April's fucking cabin, he's freaking the fuck out. That's a really, if you really break that scene down, that shit's dark. He's like depressed. His master's fucking gone. You know what I'm saying? That's some really dark tones, and it's obviously it's made for kids in the 80s, and so it's not as really whatever. But if you, And then, you know, like, are like Power Rangers. Power Rangers is a
Dude,
fucking joke of a
no,
show. But
Ninja
you read
Turtles
those comics.
Ninja Turtles was crazy, like the original Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
I'm talking like the black and white one. Like,
Yeah.
Mark Bodie did an issue. Like,
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did. Like, there was like a Bruce Lee issue that I remember I had that too.
Sick.
They were like, it was like
They're whooping
like,
ass.
This is like independent comics, dude. They were like on.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say they were like zapped like that far, like, you know, hiding shit in the art, but like they weren't like the cartoon. It was far from the cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was interesting shit. But like, yeah, that art style was pretty influential too to me, I would say. Like, I wasn't so, you know, props to like, you know, to Von Bodie, and like the, like, you know, obviously like the Lizard and the Wizard, but
Yeah.
they inspired Eastman and Laird, and I got inspired by the Eastman and Laird stuff, and then came back around to be inspired by the Von Bodie stuff. You don't see it like a lot of my work, but like, you know, still like some of the ideas around, like, and his approaches. I think there's some interesting stuff there, and I like, it's another vein of something I want to try kind of soon, is like a little bit of like that Rick Griffin sort of hand. I don't know. You'll see it if I am successful with it, but
Word. Let's go do a production.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go in. I got some tunnels for you.
I'm down.
We can spend some time.
Well,
Really cash in some pain.
Earlier, you were like, don't DM me, whatever, drop the pin or whatever. I was like, damn, I can't ask you for a pin drop.
That's different. you definitely have the higher rank on this one. You know, I should be lucky to paint next to you.
Oh no, man.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you. You know, I've definitely been very inspired lately by like a lot of writers that are pushing the envelope. You know, backgrounds. I mean, it's like when you really think about that production, it's like, yeah, your letters are great and all that, but what's coming with it, right? And seeing some of these people that are like doing these crazy futuristic worlds in the background with like space and like Egyptian tombs and fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, this, it's really cool seeing that shit. It sticks out to you. And that's definitely one thing that like Europe is killing it when it comes to doing those concepts where like, all right, we're all going to match colors. We're all going to go in. This is going to be like the concept. And then like the entire wall is done before the piece is done. And then the backgrounds ended up tighter than the graffiti. And you're just like, fuck.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of my approach nowadays too. Like, I like to do like lay out the background first.
Yeah.
Because like I get pretty splashy with the backgrounds, right? And like, I don't want to have to worry about like, oh, I'm gonna go over my piece, so I'm just like, fuck it, like outline my shit to get to the point where I can just, you know, do something in the background and then work on my piece after that. So I mean, I try to like change that process too. I think that's part of the trying different shit all the time.
Yeah no, for sure. We've fucking covered a lot, but there is two questions that I always like to ask at the end of the podcast. If you could talk to yourself when you were 18, what advice would you give yourself?
Ooh, man, just keep going.
Fire.
I don't have any regrets, really.
Yeah, that's good.
I think, you know, my path so far, graph-wise, has been like, you know, if you think about like the whole tortoise and the hare story, like I was definitely the tortoise, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that was beneficial to me in the long run. Like that keeps you going, right? Like, don't burn out. I think having kids in hindsight made me still paint today, which sounds kind of weird, right? Like, I think before, if I didn't have kids, I wouldn't have had that time to reflect on myself of like, oh, you're doing the same shit all the time. Like, how about stepping it up?
Yeah, because your time is now so vital.
Exactly. And then doing that made me kind of get in a different mindset of, okay, now you're trying new shit. And like, now that's the drive versus getting known and putting the numbers up. It's like, now what can you experiment with next? And that became fun as fuck, right? Especially like, again, I was only using Rusto before that. So now playing with all the Lindahl valve shit, like, you know, like Montana, Germany with, I heard on a podcast the other day, and I always thought, you know, golds were special, right? I love Montana Gold. Like, they have a certain, I could paint with them all day because the valve is like really comfortable. And I heard on a podcast, one of the McLean guys who was, I think was like integral in like really putting together the gold line, they're talking about how they cut the springs. I was like, that makes so much fucking sense because I've always felt that, right? Like I always felt like the spring wasn't as hard. I'm not going to mention any brands, but there was a brand who recently switched their valves up who had a really hard to press valve, and their springs were just tough. And
Sorry, I bust them out.
Nah, I'm not going to bust them out.
No, it's all good.
But they've corrected themselves like a year or two ago, which is awesome. But like, you still can't match what Gold did. Like, that innovation was awesome. Anyways, I'm getting off my topic, but like, being able to like, I guess like exploit new technology in graffiti has been interesting to me. Like, I think before I had a kid, I would have been like, nah, fuck that. Like, it's all resto all day, whatever. I'd probably be in the quick color too,
You use Montana.
Exactly. That would be me. But then after having a kid, it was like, you know what? Fuck what anybody else is saying. Like, I just need to make myself happy in what I do. And that's probably why I'm still painting till today, is because
for sure
it's not about other people. It's about like, I see some stuff, it inspires me. I'm not gonna bite that shit, but I'm gonna try to, kind of like what you said about Europe, where you're trying to find the essence of something. Like, I'll never straight up bite anything, right? Like, I'm always trying to like, okay, if I'm gonna even get inspired by that, I want to take it like either my own direction or like 3 steps in a some other way that like maybe it's hidden or something. And I think that's what helps not only grow yourself, but it helps grow like the art. It helps make those different islands of style writing that again,
it's a new path created, and in the map, in the family tree of graffiti. Exactly. It's a new branch.
And if you are I guess like incestfully like going in that branch millions of different times and playing around with different things, and then going to another branch and fucking around, you're like end up being like Genghis Khan. Like, you just dropped a bunch of styles everywhere, and people are like following different things that you've done or whatever. Which again, it doesn't really matter so much as like, are you happy? Are you again, going back to like, what would I tell myself? Like, find what makes you happy. Like, this whole like quote unquote keeping it real is actually like, I don't know, I guess like
whack.
There's certain levels of it, right? Like, there's a certain understanding of like what keeping it real is. Like, it's like,
for sure,
it's like keeping it real for what makes me happy, also by not being an asshole to people, right? Like, that really sucks too. Like, have integrity with your shit,
right?
But
no, I absolutely agree with you in the different levels of like keeping it real. If you're keeping it real and keeping it true to graffiti and your style and this and that, that's totally fine. But if you're like, oh, I'm keeping it real because I'm fucking sick, fuck out of here.
Right. Or if I'm following some rule, not to say that the like rules suck, because there definitely are rules that make sense, but like some rule that you're following that maybe someone told you, like, oh, you always have to do your 3D this way, or I don't know, I'm just making shit up. But like,
I get what you're saying.
That shit limits you.
100%.
Or like, oh, you have to always make it legible. Like, fuck it. Like, maybe not. This has to always connect to something. Well, maybe not. Like, maybe I'll do a piece that has a fucking bar coming out of nowhere. Like, fuck it, make it look good. Find a way to make that look good, and then take that back into your other standard piece. And
no, that's really cool, man. You got my mind fucking spinning and shit, because like we literally at the beginning of the podcast, it's coming full circle in a way. We were talking about how like I didn't know where hangoffs were coming off, and you have some shit coming out of a random bar,
right?
When you're like, yeah, fuck it, go ahead and do
it.
Yeah, and it's not
make it look good.
Well, yeah, exactly. Obviously, now it's like a decade later of experience. I could be like, okay, well, if I have one coming off, it's gonna look a lot better than of just like arrow out of nowhere, Right. So it's like it's a different blend.
Yeah, I mean, and back and forth, right? Okay, do a piece that like is like sound, and then do one that's like crazy abstract that like just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and then find a way to make that one look good, and then take some of that and put it over here on the piece that is sound or whatever, right?
Yeah.
A simple piece, round style, straight lines only. What limit yourself sometimes.
Straight lines only. That's fire.
Like
that's hard.
My first cookie cutter style, I guess you want to call
it. I know what you're talking about.
Only straight lines. Like,
that's funny you say cookie cutter, because instantly I knew what you're talking about.
Someone called it that. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
You gotta make some lost cookies.
Cookie cutter.
You should actually make like personal. That'd be sick.
Interesting.
I mean, just for you, obviously. I mean, fucking. I mean, we're close to each other. I'll bug you for a lost cookie, dude. You actually would be sick. Is if you did. Hear me out on this. Imagine your cookie cutter style. Make it look silver, and then in your fill would be like a chocolate chip.
Oh,
So it's actually a
literally
cookie
make
cutter
it
for
that.
your piece.
Yeah.
So you're blending a lot. I mean, that's you do what you do. I'm not telling you.
There's a few other ideas that I had with that, but again, like I mean, even that technique, even though I'm doing different letters with that technique, I'm still running that technique, so I'm kind of I'm trying to wean away from that a little bit.
I think it's so sick.
You'll probably start seeing a little bit less of that.
Yeah.
And I'll bring it back every once in a while, but
Yeah, for sure. I'll bring it back out once in a while too.
Yeah, fucker. Yeah, no. I mean, I let the homies do it. Like, I'll
wait till you haven't done it in a while before I pull it.
post it out. Whatever. It's getting fucking done. But yeah, I don't know. It's part of the cycle of things, right?
Yeah. No, I totally understand.
Got to keep it fun. Got to keep it interesting. Got to fail. Got to find ways to be like
Yeah.
a white belt again, and then
Absolutely.
learn whatever.
I mean, it's like, it kind of goes to that corny, like those sayings and shit like that, but there's no such thing as losses. It's always just wins because of the experience.
You don't win or
from
you
that.
learn.
Yeah, it's like,
Or you either win or you learn.
or like that, really what popped up recently, the always a student, always
Mm-hmm.
constantly learning and shit like that. So, I mean, there's some truth to that shit for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's learn how to learn, right? Like learn your
Yeah.
technique.
Because, I mean, if you did that one piece and then you don't like it and shit, you're going to sit there and study, why don't I like it? Why wasn't it good? What did I do wrong? And then you're going to find it because you're going to study yourself. You're going to be your hardest critic.
Yeah.
And then the next one's going to be that much better because now you're correcting all those things. You're
Right.
like, fuck, now I pulled it off the way I wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second you feel comfortable, you need to find a way to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, that's definitely the best way of advancing, No stamp linking.
Yep. That's such weird. Yeah.
Bet. And then, okay, and so the last question that I've recently started incorporating into the podcast is, what would be your last meal?
Ooh.
I'm a big boy. I love talking about food.
God, that's man. Like when my wife asked me what my favorite food is, it's like I can't. It's like picking a favorite kid, right? Like that's unfair, right? I don't know, man. There's so
which
many...
one's your favorite quit line.
No, I can't, dude. I'm kind of a foodie myself.
Yeah. See, that sucks then for that question for you, because if you are a foodie,
There's a lot.
then you're one of those people that you're like, you really kind of go around the full spectrum, right?
Dude, I'm one of those guys that get upset if I ordered the wrong thing, like out of the menu. Like, fuck, I should have got this other thing. Like, I'm one of those dudes. Like, yeah, I love sandwiches. I think that's something that, like,
Sandwich man, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I always wanted to have a sandwich.
Little
shop for some
Luca.
reason. Yeah, Little Luca's cool. My spot's Little Luca's good. That's like the classic spot.
Yeah.
But what's that shit called?
Millbrae over South City
Roma's.
every day. Oh, Roma's, yeah.
Roma's
yeah.
is the jam. Every once in a while,
Roma's-
Darby Dan's is the jam too.
Fuck, I haven't been to Darby Dan's in a while.
Every once in a while.
That's been a minute.
Yeah.
You know,
Sleeper.
okay, sandwich spots, if we're talking sandwiches. Molinari's.
Yeah.
Molinari's
in
fucking... no, Molinari's is North Beach, San Francisco.
Oh, I used to live out. In
Yeah, yeah,
That's,
yeah.
It's the same shit where you pick the bread and then you.
Yeah, exactly. They have
Yeah.
the whole thing, but it's like an Italian supermarket and shit.
Yeah.
And Molinari's there.
Colombo or something.
Oh, Columbo's is in Pacifica.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the one
I
I'm
know what
thinking
you're
of.
talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're Boar's Head. You can get that shit at Safeway.
Oh, yeah.
The bread's really good,
Boar's
but
Head decent.
Boar's Head's decent. I'm not hating on it, but I'm just saying, like, you can get that same sandwich at Safeway technically.
Yeah. I hear you.
Molinari's
Sauce.
has you can't get sauce. Yeah, you got me on there. Molinari's has fresh mozzarella in the oil.
Ooh.
And so when you bite that shit, it just fucking melts.
Golden Boy's right there. That
Oh,
was
yeah,
my
yeah.
jam.
Golden Goy's Pizza.
Yeah, that was my jam.
Yeah, I feel like they declined.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel...
That might.
Maybe I'm
It's
hating.
been a while.
Golden Boy,
Cuddy Freddy's Deli used to be the jam. Over North Beach.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one facet of my food
Yeah.
Cravings, dude. I can fuck with some Indian food, some Thai food.
Oh man,
Dude, man, burritos all day.
Well, yeah, that's just
Taqueria
like
San Bruno. I mean, shit. Damn. There's so many.
yeah.
Dude, no, I can't pick it. Nah, dude.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, you just fucking spun off. You're
What would
like,
your last meal be?
I actually said this to Twigs. For me, it definitely would be a nostalgic meal. It would be chicken hearts and gizzards. Yeah, over rice. My mom made it. It's like a very traditional Guatemalan.
Okay.
It's like peasant food. You know, it's very poor.
Uh-huh.
You know, we just grew up very, very poor as kids, and like, you know, fucking my mom would just make what she knew, and you know, like when my parents split, you know, single mom, 3 kids, she's working 3 jobs, not really a lot of money there, you know. And so, yeah, she would always make fucking chicken hearts and gizzards because it was, you know, shit meat that no one wants. And so that chewiness of the gizzards, I fucking love. I love that little bit of bite.
A little gamey.
Yeah, I'm with it. I don't know what it is, but especially over her rice. You know, there's something about mom's cooking for sure. But outside of mom's cooking, oh man, fuck! I never thought this question was gonna throw back at me because like I said, I already technically answered it with Twigs.
Tough one, man.
Yeah, fuck, man. I'm also with you on that, dude. I'm a big foodie dude too. You know, like I mean, you know, there's something to be said though. Just classic sashimi. You know, yeah, sashimi is like my biggest obsession, dude. Just some straight fresh sashimi with fucking a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of fucking I don't know why I'm blanking on it right now. The fucking horseradish. Oh, man, I tell you, dude, sometimes when you're in a podcast setting and your mind blanks, we've all still been talking for like 3 hours, but like the fucking green horseradish shit and wasabi, Jesus fucking Christ.
Gotcha.
By the way, sick ass writer, his fucking hands are so hard. Dude, wasabi's hands are so hard.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, wasabi, melt a little bit of the wasabi inside the soy sauce, just barely touch the fucking sashimi, and then clean the leftover soy sauce on the rice. So you have just a little bit of the taste to bring in the
you got
flavor.
a whole technique to this thing. Huh?
No, I mean, that's the way you're supposed to do it.
Okay.
That's like the way the Japanese, like, I mean, I got put on when I went to Japan. They were like, all right, you want to eat Japanese food, you're going to get taught. And I was like, say less. And so, yeah, it was like, yeah, you get, you know, you fucking just scrub a little bit of the wasabi into the soy sauce, like I said, dip it in, and clean the excess off the rice. And then you'll have that really flavor, and you feel that buttery salmon or the tuna and the way it melts in your mouth. Oh, bro, it's fucking, that's my shit.
By the way, this is hella random.
Okay.
I have the same whatever thing that you got.
The 88, that tism.
Yeah.
Shit's going around.
Welcome Back, Kotter was the name of the TV show that the OGs would watch. It had Peanut on the beginning.
Welcome Back, Cotter. Okay,
Yeah, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, that's fire.
Yep, because I can hear that theme song in my head.
I'm gonna play that shit in the background in post production.
Oh, dude, you just got her. Yeah, it's the jam. It's the jam.
Cotter.
Welcome Back, Kotter.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the beginning there's a train, and
then you see the peanut in the back.
yeah, it's I think it was like a red and yellow piece, something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, man,
I'm gonna look it up.
that was Instagram for the generation before me. Was,
The TV, what
was
you caught.
Welcome Back, Kotter.
Dude, what was I just watching? I was watching I was watching Shazam.
Okay.
And you painted with Vane in Belgium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just got put in MSK. That's fucking.
Oh, he's in Shazam in the background.
Yeah, he's got a fucking tag in the background. I was like, oh man, that's so sick.
Yeah.
Trash ass movie.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was terrible. I was
Is it
so
number two,
disappointed.
Shazam
Yeah,
2?
number 2 was trash.
Okay.
The first one was cool. But the second one was just like, oh my god.
Yeah. Shout out to Vane and Days, man. Those guys were monsters, dude.
Yeah.
They were going hard. Man, my this is old man shit. My back spasmed like maybe 2
Sciatic nerve went out.
Nah, worse than that. I had sciatica like in college, but like to the point where I 2 weeks before my European trip, I was on the floor in the parking lot of Japantown.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I couldn't move, dude. Like
Really?
I took a knee, and then I was like, "Fuck, I gotta go to Europe." And like,
Doctor says I need a backiotomy.
yeah, I'm gonna be like up and down painting shit. Like,
You're like, I get the floor spot.
Yeah, that's actually what happened. Yeah, but yeah, those guys were.
That's
going.
the old man shit right there. Throw the youngins on the ladders. That's
Those guys
fire.
were going hard. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm getting old, man. I gotta stretch more.
That's all right. A little bit of yoga,
Yeah,
some tai chi.
yeah. No, man, I'm that age now.
Hey, I did that shit for like a year, bro. That shit was
Really?
a lot of fun. Yeah, because I grew up in the city. I mean, also grew up here, obviously in the peninsula, but like, I remember skating and shit by like Golden Gate Park and seeing all the little Chinese ladies doing Tai Chi and shit. And I don't know, something about it. I always thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I used to. Well, I lived in North Beach, and walking by the park all the time, there'd be always like crews doing Tai Chi.
Yeah, I always thought that shit was cool. And so, literally, like at the beginning, right, the year before COVID, I was kind of going through like a mental health episode. I was like trying to I was like in my head and shit a lot more than I have been lately. And so I was like, I need something that's different from everything, because I've been doing the same bullshit over and over and over. And, yeah, man. It was like that, graffiti. I was always chasing it, and I was sick of my letters, and it was just like doing the same fucking. I'm always constantly getting fucked up at spots, and like I'm just like hurting myself, and who am I really doing it for? And like it's. I mean, obviously, fuck anyone. I'm supposed to be doing it for myself, but I wasn't even doing it for myself. So I was doing it to keep it up with the Joneses, and like I have to be up, I have to be relevant. I'm a nobody, So I was just kind of in my head. And I was a really big block or whatever. I was like learning how to sign paint, and that shit was hard as fuck, because you're starting something new. So now I'm a toy side painter, know. So yeah, it's like 2018 is when I kind of started getting into that shit. So I really needed to do something, and I was walking by at Golden Gate Park. I was just really in my head and saw the little Asian ladies doing the fucking Tai Chi.
You just started following them or something? Or
well,
what?
no, I walked up. They had like a little break. They were just like taking a 5, and I just walked over, and I was like, how do you get involved with this? And she looked at me, and she was like, you're interested in Tai Chi? And I was like, I'm this fucking big fat Guatemalan and these tiny little Chinese women. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, come back next Sunday. And I was like, swear? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, cool. And I came back fucking following Sunday. I was in my
Sweats or something?
my Adidas sweats, and a little hoodie. And she was just like, you're really down, huh? And she sat me down in a bench. She was like, come at this time, right?
Yeah.
It was like 15 minutes before the class came over, and we sit down on a bench, and she tells me about my dongjin is your like internal, where your chi generates in your stomach. And she's like, this is your brain in your stomach. This is your real brain, where your soul is, and this is where you generate chi. And she's like, I want you to sit down. I want you to wiggle your toes on the ground, feel the sand, and I want you to really take the energy from the trees, because the roots are inside of the fucking ground. I want you to breathe into your donji, and then fucking really concentrate your breath into your stomach. And so I took like 3 breaths, and then she's like, concentrate on the front of your stomach, concentrate on the back of your back, concentrate the 3 quarters. And she was like, really pay attention to your body as you're breathing this. And it was very interesting, because I felt like I was really breathing specifically into the spot that she was telling me. And after the whole thing was done, she's like, how do you feel? And I was like, I feel great. And she's like, you're learning breathing techniques. This will help your circulatory system, your fucking blood pressure. You're bringing oxygen into your lungs. This is calming down, lowering your heart rate. This is helping you with anxiety. These are the beginning of Tai Chi. And she's like, if you want to learn the moves, I got the beginner class today. And I was like, okay. And I stuck for 2 hours, bro, and I was fucking hooked.
Yeah.
And so for a solid year, I learned how to do the Tai Chi. There's 3 steps, and so not 3 steps, but 3 levels. And so I was learning the beginning level, which was 29 steps, and I did it for a solid year and shit. And I'll tell you, man, I took a lot out of that. I highly recommend Tai Chi on some real shit. If you're going through some shit mentally and you need something to break, there's many things out there. I highly recommend therapy if you have fucking Medi-Cal or anything like that. There's Blue Humming is a great source. That's where I get my therapy. I go every Tuesday.
Okay.
You know, I love putting that shit out there. Mental health is super
Sponsored?
important. Huh?
You sponsored by them?
No.
I'm just
But
kidding.
I mean, I've been doing it now for a couple months, and I'm working
That's
through
dope.
my anger issues and shit like that. You know, I mean, it's some real shit. You know,
Yeah.
like I mean, I'm not trying to get hella deep on the podcast about graffiti, but if I
We're
can,
crying over here.
yeah. Let me talk about my daddy issues. No, but if I can help someone,
Right.
you know, that's going through something that's into graffiti, you know, because graffiti can be a very hectic thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's an illegal
Definitely.
thing. It's a crime. It does attract
All types of characters.
a couple of
Yeah.
a little on the crazier side, you know,
Right.
and not to say that you're actually crazy, and I take that back actually now that
No,
I said that,
we've-
but you know what I
you know,
mean is like some people can be a little bit, you know, where they need some of that output, and that was me for sure at the time when I started doing graffiti. I was homeless, didn't have a job, I was going through a lot of shit in my life. I was a no one.
I've met all types of characters.
Yeah, and
Painting. Yeah.
and so
definitely.
graffiti was like, I felt like I existed because I could throw my name on a wall, and then like a week later I still saw it, and I'm like,
Right.
you know what? That's proof that I exist, because as of right now I'm a nobody.
Right.
So, anyways, years later, Tai Chi, really great fucking thing, and I highly recommend it. I don't even know how we got on this fucking topic, but like, I really, that's
Something about your last meal and somehow I got
yeah,
the Tai Chi.
bro. I'm telling you.
By the
fucking-
way, Took, if you're still listening, I'm pretty sure this guy knows how to use chopsticks.
oh, I'm
So,
fucking dude. Hey, you know what? Actually, the other day I was at a spot, and my homegirl, shout out my homegirl Karen. She's Chinese as fuck.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know what that means.
Ba po. All right, ba po. I learned that. It's a fucking. It's like an old chismosa. It's a fucking. It's how you tell an old lady that's really into gossip.
Yeah.
Ba po.
Yeah, chisme. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That I love talking shit to her in Chinese. It's the funniest thing. I'm always constantly looking up Chinese shit to just. But anyways, we were at a fucking spot, a little dim sum spot, and I'm eating food, chopsticks, not even tripping and shit. And literally, she just keeps picking up this dim sum and keeps falling on the plate and this and that. Everyone's just like, "How the fuck does this Guatemalan dude know chopsticks more than the fucking Chinese girl? You're fucking stupid." And they were just roasting her the entire time. She's like, "This is bullshit." Yeah, it was hilarious. Yeah, my chopstick game's fire, bro.
Tight.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, respect.
Yeah, I'm like Mr. Miyagi. I'm catching flies.
Shit.
No, I'm not that sick. Well, yeah. Anyways, fucking this has been an extremely crazy tangent, and I apologize everyone for the tail end of this podcast. I'm very sorry.
This has been a very lost podcast.
Ooh, fire! That's a fucking. You're like a Lil Wayne bar right there. You know. Yeah. So I guess let's do the end of the podcast. The links. If you're coming off of a search and shit like that, you know, and you just don't follow us already, you can find me Bay Area Graffiti, Bay_area_graffiti. Personal graffiti is what's your name. Name is spelled Naym, which is just Myan backwards. If you need a sign, holla at your boy. Starving artist, literally starving artist. Left Coast Signs, let me know. I'll hook you up with some sign painting and shit. Do it for, you know, good price. Because I'm not known, so I can give a little discount. You want to give your Instagram?
No.
All right. Fair enough.
I know. I mean, you know, I guess you can find me somehow.
Yeah, if you find them, you find them.
Yeah.
That's funny. The last couple of people have been like, there's been a few people that are like, fuck that, don't find me.
Yeah. Whatever.
Um,
I mean, you know, I'm not like outlaw or anything crazy, but
Right. You can't. Hey, I respect it. Keep it cutty. As far as we were talking about, though, you did have a website.
oh yeah, if you need to get caps, spraycapdepot.com.
There you go.
Got a lot of different sprays there.
Spray Cap Depot.
Yeah.
And then you were talking
Sponsored.
about a DVD.
Yeah. Transitions DVD. I got a few of them left. So
Yeah?
if anyone's interested.
How many
this
do you
is
think
the
you have?
one- that's a good question.
Give or take.
Maybe like 8 of them.
8? Oh, I'm for sure buying one.
Okay. I'll shoot you one.
I thought you were gonna say like, oh, I got like 100.
No,
you know,
no,
because
no,
they're
no.
you got 8.
I got,
That's
like,
okay.
8
That's
left,
different.
yeah.
So yeah, transition possibly on Spray Cap Depot.
No, I'll give him my Instagram for that, I guess. Yeah, hit me up on side name.
There you go.
Instagram, fuck
Got it out of
whatever.
you.
Hit my DMs.
Okay.
Yeah, if you need that. It's the one that predates
Reefer Madness.
Reefer Madness, yeah.
Damn, that real. So that would be because Reefer Madness was what 04 to 06. So was this still 2000s or was it 99 or like 90s?
2000s. I don't think I met up with I wasn't really trading. Was I trading flicks back then? Actually, I was way before that.
Damn.
I don't think I met up with them before the 2000s though. Yeah, it had to be early 2000s.
Okay.
Sometime. Yeah.
Sick.
I'll look into it.
All right. Well, yeah. Fucking yeah. Transitions, you said?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. Check them out. Side name, SIDENAME.
Yep.
Bet. Hit them up for the transition. Get that Uber exclusive. You know,
Yeah.
that real. And yeah, other than that, man, thanks for coming onto the show. I appreciate your knowledge, you know, and your insight. I loved getting into the science of letters and doing stuff. It's been an honor.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Word. Well, I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.
What is this rush thing? What is the rush that you get from it?
The ultimate rush, nothing can beat it, no drugs, no nothing.
Are you the kind of person who goes up on those signs on the freeway?
Yeah, more than anyone.